Chapter 103. Young master, come, let me toast you. Ning Mingji raised his cup and said, Brother Ning, do it. The two of them clinked glasses and downed the contents in one go. The people sitting around looked at this scene in a daze, their eyes filled with shock. Chun Daoming's face was bitter, and he sighed secretly. He also wanted to find the young master to toast, but he didn't dare. After drinking a cup of immortal wine, one's body would probably explode and die. Looking at young master and the monk, they drank immortal wine and ate dragon meat as if it was as easy as drinking water. His calm demeanor did not show any signs of discomfort. From the looks of it, that monk is also an expert. Although they are far from young master, they must have known each other for a long time. Chun Daoming murmured, thinking secretly, Brother Chun, let's toast. Sun Hao raised his cup and said, Young master, I am drunk. Chun Daoming blushed and said, Then I'll do it. You could do whatever you want. Okay? Sun Hao finished and drank it in one gulp. All right. Chun Daoming took a sip. Old one, shall we have a toast? Sun Hao raised his glass again. Young master, I'm old and can't handle alcohol. When Renshir waved his hand again and again. I'll do it, it's up to you. After Sun Hao finished speaking, he drank it again. TSK, TSK. Refreshing. Sun Hao's eyes bloomed with a strange light. He picked up a few pieces of dragon meat and ate them in one bite. Young master, let me propose a toast to you. At this time, Huang Rumeng raised her cup and said, Rumeng, be careful not to get drunk. Sun Hao said, It's okay, young master, I have a good alcohol tolerance. If I get drunk, then you can carry me back to the bed. Huang Rumeng said, Good. Sun Hao nodded. Young master, thank you for taking care of Rumeng all this time. Rumeng is very grateful. Let me toast you. Huang Rumeng raised her cup and drained it in one gulp under the stunned gazes of the others. Rumeng, I also thank you. After speaking, Sun Hao also drank it in one gulp. Huang Rumeng looked at Sun Hao with a red face. He didn't know if he was drunk or intoxicated. She stared blankly at Sun Hao and unknowingly fell on him. She's already drunk. I'll take her back to rest first. Everyone, don't stand on ceremony. Keep eating and drinking. If you don't finish eating, you're not allowed to leave today. Sun Hao finished speaking and walked into the house with Huang Rumeng on his back. When Sun Hao left, everyone relaxed a lot. I don't know the name of the eminent monk. Chun Daoming looked at Ning Mingji and said, I don't dare to be an eminent monk. This little monk's dharma name is Mingwu. Ning Mingji said, It turns out to be Master Mingwu. Chun Daoming has seen Master Mingwu. After that, Chun Daoming stood up and saluted. The others stood up one by one and cupped their fists to Ning Mingji. Ning Mingji was naturally no exception and returned the greeting one by one. Master Mingwu, do you live here? Chun Daoming asked. Yes, with young master's permission. This little monk built a house at the foot of the mountain and lived there. Ning Mingji said with a smile. Hearing this, everyone nodded their heads. Everyone had different expressions on their faces. If he could stay at the foot of the mountain, it would be much more convenient to meet the young master in the future. Even if the young master did not assign any tasks to her, she would listen to the young master recite scriptures and play the zither. That was also a great fortune. Why didn't I think of this? Master Enlightenment was indeed formidable. On everyone's face, there was admiration. Everyone, don't be stunned, eat. There is still half of this pot of meat. After speaking, Ning Mingji picked up a few pieces of meat, put them in his mouth, and ate them. Eat, come on, eat. Several people began to eat. The best taste in the world, the best in the immortal world. However, their strength was too weak, and their digestion was too slow. At this moment, kacha, 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 3 consecutive sounds rang out. Su Yiling, Luo Luyin, and Chun Daoming broke through to the crossing calamity realm at the same time. At this moment, the dark clouds rose, and a 9-color electric light flashed constantly. Among the dark clouds, the Thunder Tribulation giant stood there, his eyes dull. He put his hands together and kept praying. God bless. I hope that the person who transcends the tribulation this time has nothing to do with the supreme existence. A minute later, his eyes penetrated the dark clouds and swept to the earth. After a look, he collapsed in the dark clouds and almost fell to the ground. Oh my God, they transcended the tribulation again. Why is my life so bitter? I met them again. Alas, this year I will definitely be criticized by the ruler. The thunder tribulation giant was dejected and muttered to himself. Suddenly, his eyebrows raised as if he thought of something. His eyes penetrated the dark clouds again and swept to the ground. When he saw the pot of dragon meat on the table, he was scared to the ground. Oh my God, the ruler, the supreme existence, is actually eating dragon meat. Even we dare not offend the ancient dragon clan. That supreme existence dares to do this. Is it possible that the supreme existence is more powerful than the thunder tribulation lord? Thinking like this, the thunder tribulation giant's body trembled, and his whole person seemed to sink into hell. He knew very well how strong the thunder tribulation lord was. There were only a handful of strong people who could defeat the thunder tribulation lord. Nevertheless, those existences would not offend the thunder tribulation lord, because the thunder tribulation lord controlled the thunder punishment heavenly law. Anyone who transcended the tribulation needed the arrangement of the thunder tribulation lord. Although those existences could beat the thunder tribulation lord, their juniors could not. In order for the juniors to transcend the tribulation with peace of mind, they could only build a good relationship with the thunder tribulation lord and send various treasures from time to time. The thunder tribulation lord was such a powerful existence, but they did not dare to offend the dragon clan. They did not dare to eat the juniors of the dragon clan so blatantly, because behind the ancient dragon clan, there was an extremely terrifying existence, and even 100 thunder tribulation lords could not beat it. For a long time, in order to please that existence, the thunder tribulation lord deliberately gave the ancient dragon clan a hard time, and the tribulation they transcended was much weaker than that of human cultivators. In front of them, the supreme existence was actually eating the ancient dragon clan. Was such a character a hothead or a real expert? For a while, the thunder tribulation giant could not make a judgment, because he could not see through it. No matter what, I must leave here as soon as possible. You eating dragons has nothing to do with me. I didn't see anything. After speaking, the thunder tribulation giant was about to leave. By the way, I can't forget this. This time, the thunder tribulation giant was straightforward. He directly pulled out the 9 strands of lightning, divided them into 3 parts, and threw them down. The 9 strands of lightning flew into the bodies of Luo, Lu Yin, and the other 2. It's terrible, even daring to eat dragons. I hope the terrifying existence of the dragon clan does not find out. Otherwise, I will definitely be implicated. I really hope I don't come here again in the future. After speaking, the thunder tribulation giant walked into the void, and after layers of ripples, it disappeared. The dark clouds disappeared, and the sky became clear again. The consciousness of Luo, Lu Yin, and the other 2 sank into their dantian. After seeing the 3-color thunder tribulation lightning in their dantian, their eyes flashed. There are 6 thunder tribulation lightning bolts. The last 3 thunder tribulation lightning bolts were obviously dozens of times stronger than the previous 3. They were not on the same level at all. Finally reached the ascendant realm. Since forming a good relationship with the young master, my cultivation base has improved by leaps and bounds. Chapter 104. Hey, why haven't you finished eating yet? Sun Hao said as he looked at the remaining half of the hot pot. Although the eel was big enough, there were so many people. Moreover, they were cultivators. A large eel shouldn't be unable to finish it. Young master, I'm so full. Su Yiling touched her round belly with a look of satisfaction. Young master, we are full. Seeing that they had no intention of eating anymore, Sun Hao sighed secretly. What a pity, I can only throw it away. After speaking, Sun Hao picked up the cauldron and walked to the pond. Xin Yuanshi's brows couldn't help but raise when she saw this scene. The young master is? Was he going to throw it away? Oh my God, isn't it too wasteful? This was yellow dragon meat. In this world, no one had ever heard of anyone eating yellow dragon meat. Should I bring some back for my father? Thinking of this, Xian Yuan Shi plucked up her courage and asked, "Young master, what are you doing? Get ready to fall." Sun Hao said, Young master, could you give it to me?" As soon as these words came out, swish, the eyes of Luo Luyin and the other four were all fixed on Xian Yuan Shi. Especially Mu Bing. She smiled and shook her head, revealing a playful expression. Xian Yuan Shi naturally saw everyone's reaction. Could it be that he did something wrong? What's wrong with that? Then I don't want it anymore. Are you sure you want this? Sun Hao asked. "Young master, I don't think we should," Xian Yuan Shi said. Hearing this, Sun Hao frowned and looked unhappy. One moment, she said yes, and the next moment, she said no. Was it easy to carry a big pot? Even if you're a cultivator, you can't fool yourself like this. "Do you want it?" Sun Hao said. "Not good." Young master is angry. They were in big trouble now. It seemed like the young master wanted to accept it himself. It was all his fault. "Young master, I don't have anything on me, so," Xian Yuan Shi said. "Well, don't worry, I have it." Sun Hao's face showed a smile. Then, he quickly ran back into the house. Seeing the smile on Sun Hao's face, Xian Yuan Shi was secretly relieved. Suddenly, her body trembled, and tiny beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. "You are the first to dare steal this old man's food." A buzzing sound reverberated in his mind. Boundless pressure surged through his body. At this moment, Xian Yuan Shi found that it was extremely difficult for her to even move a finger. "Senior, you are?" Xian Yuan Shi asked. "I am Ingyu." A golden pheasant stood in front of Xian Yuan Shi. All the feathers on its body stood up like a fighting chicken. Seeing this scene, Xian Yuan Shi's pupils constricted and her expression changed greatly. This was the Nine Heavens God Luan. This was a legendary divine beast. He could actually see a mythological beast. Are you dreaming? Wait, what did he just say about food? Could it be that the remaining food was the Nine Heavens God Luan's food? I snatched the food of a divine beast. The Nine Heavens God Luan was just a pet raised by the young master. Thinking of this, hiss, Xian Yuan Shi felt a chill run down her spine, as if she had sunk into an ice well that had been frozen for 10,000 years. If I knew that the young master fed such a pet, even if I was beaten to death, I wouldn't dare to accept it. It was no wonder that they looked at him like that when he said those words. So that was how it was. What should he do now? "Senior, I didn't mean it. Please forgive me," Xian Yuan Shi said. You dare to be so presumptuous unintentionally. If you have the intention, won't you ride on my head?" As soon as these words came out, Xian Yuan Shi trembled with fear. On her forehead, fine beads of sweat overflowed, seeing that she was about to faint. At this time, "Little Ing, what are you doing? If you do this again, I will really stew you into a pot of chicken soup." As soon as these words came out, the pressure on Xian Yuan Shi's body suddenly disappeared. Quack, quack. Ingyu ran to Sun Hao's side and kept rubbing his trousers. Xian Yuan Shi looked at this scene, and her face changed again and again. The mythological beast turned out to be just a bootlicker. The young master's true identity was not what she could imagine. "Really, don't be rude to guests in the future." Sun Hao walked forward with a big jar. "Miss Xian Yuan, this chicken is like this when it sees strangers. Please don't be offended, Miss Xian Yuan." Xian Yuan Shi's body trembled, and her face was ugly. "Young master, it's okay," Xian Yuan Shi said. "Miss Xian Yuan, this can hold it." After speaking, Sun Hao put pieces of dragon meat into the jar. When he was about to pour the soup, Xian Yuan Shi hurriedly stopped him. "Young master, it's enough." Sun Hao handed the jar to Xian Yuan Shi. "Quack, quack." Ingyu kept calling. "Do you want to eat?" "Quack, quack." Ingyu nodded frantically like a chicken pecking rice. "Okay." Sun Hao scooped a bowl for Ingyu and poured the rest into the pond. Oh. The petals of the myriad god lotus kept trembling as if clapping their hands. The roots rushed over and devoured the soup frantically. "Miss Xian Yuan, I like what you gave me today very much. I will also give you a gift." "What do you want?" Sun Hao asked. "What? The young master still wants to give me something?" This jar of dragon meat was already a supreme treasure. For other things, how dare I ask for extravagant things? "Young master, you gave me so much meat. I'm very satisfied. Xian Yuan sure said. Those leftovers are not worth mentioning. How about I give you a pair of couplets? Sun Hao said. This, Xian Yuan sure was so excited that her body trembled slightly. How can I accept this? As long as you don't dislike it. After speaking, Sun Hao spread out the drawing paper and waved his brush. Auspicious dragon soaring purple pavilion. Happy phoenix around Zhu Xian. Seeing this couplet, Xian Yuan sure was completely stunned in place. Her heart couldn't help beating violently. She had a feeling that as long as this couplet was hung at the door of the house, the Xian Yuan family would prosper forever. Miss Xian Yuan, how is it? Are you satisfied? Sun Hao said. Young master, thank you. Xian Yuan sure was extremely grateful. It's nothing. You're welcome, as long as Miss Xian Yuan likes it. Sun Hao said. Xian Yuan sure held the couplet in both hands, looking extremely nervous. This kind of treasure must be sent back immediately. Young master, how long have you been bothering me today? I will leave first. Xian Yuan sure said. Miss Xian Yuan, take care, come often when you have time. Sun Hao said. Definitely. Xian Yuan sure walked out quickly, her whole person extremely nervous. She just turned around and couldn't help but tremble. The lotus in the lotus pond strongly stimulated her eyeballs. There seemed to be demon chi coming from time to time. Demon immortal. Xian Yuan sure's scalp exploded. Unexpectedly, the young master actually raised a demon immortal. When she just came in, she was completely attracted by the young master's chanting and didn't pay attention. This was too terrifying. Fortunately, she didn't mean any harm. Walking out of the gate, Xian Yuan sure soared into the sky, turned into a long rainbow, and disappeared. Ding! Blessing point plus 500. What? 500 blessing points? The last time I gave her a painting, I only got 50 blessing points. What's going on? Sun Hao looked at the blessing point panel and muttered to himself with a puzzled face. Chapter 105. Young Master. Luo Luyan looked at Sun Hao and stopped talking. Miss Luyan, please say it. You're welcome. Sun Hao said. Young Master, we want to build a few houses at the foot of your mountain. What do you think? Luo Luyan said. Building a house in such a remote place? Then in the future, it would be much more convenient for them to come here, and they would be able to gain more blessing points. He couldn't ask for more. Miss Luyan is too polite. You can build it. Sun Hao said. Many thanks, young master. Luo Luyan's eyes shone, and she bowed. The others were also pleasantly surprised. Young master, then we will go down the mountain to build a house first. Luo Luyan said. Brother Chun, I have something to leave tomorrow. Please help me take care of it. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. Chen Dao Ming nodded. When Chen Dao Ming and the others left, Sun Hao's eyes flickered. Today's harvest was huge. First, he chanted scriptures to gain a few thousand blessing points. Then they ate, gave Xian Yuan sure a couplet, and gained thousands of blessing points. The total blessing points reached more than 30,000. Tomorrow, I'm going to the West Prefecture Immortal City. I don't know if the cultivators there are good to talk to. Sun Hao walked back to the study and took the soul calming pearl out of the cabinet. Phew, the light blue light illuminated the entire study. It was as gentle as fluorescent light. Sun Hao took it and walked to the front of Xian Yuan cup. It seems to fit in just right. This lamp is really well made. Sun Hao put the soul calming pearl into the Xian Yuan cup. Buzz, a sound rang out. The soul-suppressing orb glowed with a blinding light, and no one dared to open their eyes. Sun Hao squinted and looked, his face full of shock. The light is several times brighter than before. This effect is completely daytime. Miss Xuanyuan's lamp is not simple. Sun Hao muttered to himself for a long time before he calmed down. Just nice, I could draw more now. After speaking, Sun Hao began to grind ink. On a certain island in Violet Sunstar. Here, immortal energy drifted about, water mists rising, looking like an otherworldly immortal island. A white-bearded, kind-looking old man sat cross-legged on the ground with a horsetail whisk in his hand. He looked like an enlightened immortal. A young man was kneeling in front of him. This man had fiery red hair, and his body was filled with a violent aura. This person was the son of Liang Golden Crow, Lai Shang. Disciple, Why have you come looking for me? The old man asked. Lai Shang knelt 3 times and kowtowed 9 times, looking respectful. Master, this disciple needs to leave for a while. The old man opened his eyes and smiled. Why did you leave? Master, disciple has unfinished business. My state of mind is not at peace, and I can't progress. When disciple is done with the mundane affairs, I will return to cultivate with Master and become a supreme immortal. Lai Shang said. Sigh, the old man sighed. Since you want to leave, then take this. At the crucial moment, it can save your life. After that, the old man handed the whisk to Lai Shang. Master, how can this be? Lai Shang's face changed slightly. Go. I've long predicted that you would leave. I'll send you there on the way. With that, the old man waved his right hand. Heaven and earth shook as a huge teleportation vortex appeared above their heads. Master's great kindness. Disciple will remember it. Lai Shang said. Idiot, go. The old man gently pointed, and Lai Shang only felt dizzy and disappeared in place instantly. When he appeared again, he had already arrived at the Tianluo continent. He looked at the west, his fists clenched and his joints cracked. Father, don't worry, I will avenge you. This time, no matter who he is, I will pull out his soul and never reincarnate. When he was about to move, You can't go. A sound rang out. This sound was very abrupt, and Lai Shang couldn't tell the direction at all. The sound seemed to come from all directions. Who? Pretending to be a ghost? Get out of here. Lai Shang roared, and at the same time, he waved his right hand, and the flame rose. With him, as the center, the spherical flame spread around. The ground was burned black, and the trees fell one by one, turning into white ash. It looked like the magma of hell, extremely terrifying. In the blink of an eye, within a kilometer, everything turned into ashes. Ha! A laugh sounded, worthy of having the bloodline of Lai Yang Golden Crow and Heaven-Devouring Golden Crow. This strength is really good. However, I advise you not to go to the Great Demon Mountain. Otherwise, you will not return. The voice was faint, and it kept passing into Lai Shang's ears. Coward, come out if you have the guts. Let's fight fair and square. Lai Shang shouted. Oh, I'm not here to fight you, but to tell you something. Your father was killed by Huang Rumeng of the Demon Ancestor Mountain, and she now lives in the south of the Great Demon Mountain. There is a supreme immortal beside her. If you go, it's tantamount to hitting a stone with an egg, and you will just die. Listen to my advice. Turn back now. It's not too late. The voice was long, and it came into Lai Shang's ears from time to time. Humph! Do you think I will believe your words? What is your purpose? Come out and say it. Lai Shang's voice was cold, and his eyes swept around. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find any clues. I am already a half-immortal, and I can't even detect his aura. How is this possible? Lai Shang murmured, and a touch of fear flashed away. Believe it or not, that's all I have to say goodbye. If you really want to go die, I can stop you for a while, but I can't stop you for a lifetime. After these two sounds, there was dead silence all around. No matter how Lai Shang provoked, no one responded to him again. Supreme Immortal? Huang Rumeng? Could it be that what he said is true? Whether it's true or false, go there and find out. With Master's horsetail whisk, I can keep my life safe. South of the Great Demon Mountain, right? Then I'd like to see what ability you have. After saying that, Lai Shang turned into a long rainbow and instantly disappeared into the sky. Half an hour later, two black shadows slowly condensed. One of them was the corpse puppet clan patriarch, Emohan. Patriarch, since you want him to test the strength of the godly cunning immortal, why don't you let him go? Asked the black shadow. Hee. That's because Lai Shang has a bad temper and is extremely stubborn. Only such stimulation can succeed, said Emohan. The patriarch is wise. What should we do next? Asked the black shadow. That is naturally to follow from a distance and wait and see. If the godly cunning immortal is too strong, we will run away at any time. Yes, Patriarch. The black shadow nodded. Patriarch, there's one thing I don't know if I should ask. You say it, said Emohan. Patriarch, I heard that the high priest can't calculate everything about the godly cunning immortal. Is this true? Yes. Even Huang Rumen can only calculate that she killed the Lion Golden Crow. Everything else is shrouded in a mysterious aura and can't be calculated at all. In this way, this godly cunning immortal is too strong. We have to be careful. Of course. However, it is said that the godly cunning immortal is practicing as a mortal. We only need to point out that he is not immortal, and his Tao heart will be damaged. Patriarch, this may not be true, right? I have never heard of such a statement. Whether it's true or false, we will know once we try. Chapter 106. Sun Hao's residence in the front yard. Luo Luyin and the others stood respectfully in front of Yingyu and saluted with their fists. Greetings, senior. Their voice was neat and respectful. You're polite. Yingyu shook his body and turned into an old woman. His face was full of red light, and his aura was monstrous. The terrifying coercion, slightly released, made Luo Luyin and the others breathless, and their faces were ugly. Since the young master asked you to stay, there must be a reason. Do you know why the young master asked you to live here? Yingyu said, Senior, because the evil race is going to attack here, to test the young master's strength. Luo Luyin said, What? Attack here? Rebel. Yingyu's aura expanded rapidly, and the coercion surged, sweeping in all directions like a tsunami. Luo Luyin and the others were so suppressed that they couldn't move. Their hearts seemed to stop beating, and their faces were pale. They were about to be crushed to death by Yingyu on the spot. At this time, all right, a sound rang out. The coercion disappeared. A woman dressed in lotus clothes and a lotus hat walked out of the myriad god lotus step by step. Her graceful figure was a work of art. She was breathtakingly beautiful. Her immortal aura lingered, and she was agile and elegant. At a glance, it would make people lost in it. Yingyu, do you want to obliterate the people that the master likes? The lotus demon said lightly. Venerable Qing Lian, I'm sorry, I was too angry just now, and I couldn't control it. Yingyu's face showed a touch of embarrassment. You still have a bad temper. How can a master not know that a small evil race is attacking? The lotus demon, no, it should be more appropriate to say that it was Venerable Qing Lian. She said, Then why does the master want to leave at this juncture? Yingyu's face was full of puzzlement. Senior, Luo Luyin was in a cold sweat, clasped her fists, and said, The young master has already calculated everything. He doesn't want the evil race to test his strength, so he left. Letting us guard here must be a test from the young master, Luo Luyin said. Hearing this, Yingyu and Venerable Qing Lian nodded at the same time. In that case, I will leave this place to you, Venerable Qing Lian said. Two seniors, the evil race's probing attack. I'm afraid the strength of the enemy is not weak. We may not be able to resist it. Seniors, please help us. Luo Luyin clasped her fists. Oof. Supremacy Qing Lian snorted coldly. Since Master is testing you, how can we interfere? Yes, so I won't make a move. Yingyu said, There's still us. At this moment, two crisp voices rang out. Hua! The two cherry blossom trees danced wildly and rapidly transformed into two little Lolas. Her cheeks were rosy and looked like they were carved from jade. She looked very cute. Luo Luyin's group of 5 stared blankly at the two little Lolas. For a while, they were stunned in place. The two tree demons were actually demon immortals. Weren't the two of them too alike? They looked like twins. Why are you looking at us like that? A little lowly put her hands on her hips, looking angry. That's right. Master has never stared at us like that before. The other raised his fist threateningly. Luo Yoyin's 5 people's scalp exploded, and they quickly retracted their gaze. Seniors, I'm sorry. Just now, we were too. Without waiting for Luo Luyin to finish speaking, one of the little Lolas crossed her hands and looked angry. Who are you calling senior? That's right. We are only 100,000 years old now. We are so young. You actually call us seniors. I think we should teach them a lesson. That makes sense. After saying that, the bodies of the 5 people inexplicably flew into the air. Boom, boom. Suddenly, there was a sharp pain in their buttocks. Ouch. Does it hurt? Fun, it's so fun. Master is here. I don't dare to transform. Now it's so interesting. You called us seniors. Now you know your mistake, right? Okay. Venerable Qinglian spoke, and the two little Lolas immediately stopped. Yes, Sister Qinglian. The two little Lolas, one on the left and one on the right, held Venerable Qinglian's arm. Boom! The 5 people fell to the ground, showing a look of fear. Just now, they almost lost their breath. It hurt so much that they doubted their life. After landing, they didn't have any injuries at all. They looked at the two little Lolas with incomparable fear. Two sisters, I called you wrong just now. Please forgive me. Luo Luyin clasped her fist and saluted. That's more like it. The two of them crossed their arms with a proud face. My name is Xiaofan. You have to call me Sister Xiaofan in the future. My name is Xiaofan. You have to call me Sister Xiaofan in the future. Don't get it wrong. Be careful of spanking. Seeing the unkind eyes of these two little Lolas, the buttocks of the 5 people couldn't help but tremble. Then, their faces were full of bitterness. No matter how you look at them, they look exactly the same. How can they tell them apart? If this goes on, they will be spanked every day. What should they do? The young master's residence was full of big shots. It was simply too terrifying. Okay, Luo Luyin nodded helplessly. I won't help you either, and this old man will only stand by and watch. The young master's test is all your own business. It has nothing to do with this venerable. If you die, this seat will not intervene. Such voices continued to be heard. Every time, it shook their heads and made a buzzing sound. The hearts of Luo Luyin and the others rippled, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. The shock was full of panic, and the fear was with surprise. Their hearts didn't seem to be their own anymore. Okay, all go back to your respective positions, lest the evil race find out. Venerable Qinglian said. Yes, Venerable Qinglian. Immediately afterward, Yuing turned into a 9-colored golden pheasant, lying lazily on the ground. Xiaofan and Xiaofan turned into 2 cherry trees and continued to bloom. Venerable Qinglian returned to the myriad god lotus again. Everything returned to calm. It was as if what he had just heard and seen was like an illusion. So scary. Su Yiling secretly wiped her cold sweat. Her small mouth opened into an O shape, and her voice trembled. Don't say it, my legs are still shaking now. When Rinshir's face was full of panic. After living for so long, it was the first time he had seen such a shocking scene. For a long time, he had regarded the young master as a supreme big shot. Now it seemed that it was far from enough. Every one of the young master's information was a supreme big shot. They were all just the young master's servants. Can you believe it? Really scared to death. How terrifying was the young master's identity? Unimaginable. When Rinshir took a few breaths of cold air, and his body trembled uncontrollably. The other 4 were not much different from him. After a long time, they calmed down a little. Everyone, our first task is to pass the young master's test first. No matter how strong the person is, even if we die, we can't let them destroy the young master's residence. Okay? Luo Luyin looked at everyone cautiously. Okay. Chapter 107. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. In the western regions, in the sky above the West Prefecture Immortal City, flying boats were woven, long rainbows were like rain, and countless immortal cultivators were coming and going. Whether by flying boat or flying, after arriving at the West Prefecture Immortal City, they would all land at the city gate and enter the city in order. After 2 days of flying, Sun Hao and his companion finally entered the West Prefecture Immortal City smoothly. After entering the city, there was a huge crowd that stretched as far as the eye could see. These people were all cultivators. Occasionally, only a few mortals were mixed in. Sun Hao looked at the street in front of him, and his body trembled with excitement. I'm rich. I'm really rich. As long as he gave away all the things he had on him, he would be able to fill up the blessing points. However, it could not be given to cultivators who were too weak. Since he was already here, there was no rush. Once he found an inn and settled down, he would make his plans. Rumung, let's go to the inn first. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. Huang Rumling wore a face scarf and held Sun Hao's arm. Soon, the two of them walked into Fu Tavern. Do you know? The human race has produced a supreme being. As soon as he entered the inn, he heard a few cultivators bragging. This sentence instantly attracted Sun Hao's attention. Peerless Almighty? Could it be an immortal? If he gave a painting to an immortal, would he get thousands or even tens of thousands of blessing points? Thinking of this, Sun Hao listened carefully, found a place, and sat down. Huang Rumeng naturally sat next to Sun Hao. TSK, who doesn't know that? Isn't it just the godly cunning immortal? If you know, then scram. Don't be a hindrance here. Brother Zhang, continue, I want to hear it. All right. The man took a sip of tea and continued. This godly cunning immortal is not an ordinary immortal. His methods are extremely admirable. Do you know what happened in Jianyang City a few months ago? Hearing this, Sun Hao's body trembled. He had been to Jianyang City and was scared half to death. I know. Both the nefarious and fiendish races are invading us at the same time. Shuaisha even brought out his blood sea. How terrifying. What? Evil and devil races? Aren't there only evil races? How did the devil race get involved? And the blood sea? Just the name itself was frightening enough. That's right. In the entire city, both the mortals and the immortal cultivators are in endless despair. At this critical moment, the godly cunning immortal appeared. With a light palm, the sea of blood instantly collapsed. All of those demons and monsters are dead. The godly cunning immortal has boundless magical power, and no one can surpass him. When Sun Hao heard this, his eyes were full of brilliance. Admiration was written all over his face. The human race actually had such a powerful being. Once he was able to cultivate, he would definitely think of a way to pay a visit to this almighty being. It would be best if she could become his disciple. Thinking so, Sun Hao secretly clenched his fists. In fact, Jianyang City is nothing. Later, the evil race invaded Jade Lake Palace. Do you know about this? The evil race invaded Jade Lake Palace? Isn't that Miss Liu Yin's territory? How were they supposed to deal with this? Sun Hao's whole heart was hanging up and beating violently. I've heard of it, but what's the specific situation? That battle was simply earth-shattering, causing the sun and moon to lose their luster. Even the 4 great generals of the Corpse Puppet clan were dispatched. The people of Jade Lake Palace were beaten to the point of no resistance. At this critical moment, the godly cunning immortal sent a slave and killed the 4 great generals in one move. A slave could kill the 4 great generals of the Corpse Puppet clan in one move? This godly cunning immortal was extremely powerful. With such a character guarding the human race, what else was there to be afraid of? Sun Hao clenched his fists excitedly and continued to listen. In fact, this battle in Jade Lake Palace is nothing. The most shocking thing is the battle in the Blood Phoenix Nest. Blood Phoenix Nest? He had been there with Romang. It seemed that there was no danger. However, he was very flustered at that time and calmed down after playing a song. In that battle, there were 10 great generals of the Heart Eater clan, plus 2 marshals and a pharaoh. Especially that pharaoh. He was a 5-step half-immortal, and his strength was extremely powerful. In that battle, the cultivators who entered the Blood Phoenix Nest were not his opponents at all. Just when they were desperate, the godly cunning immortal came and killed the pharaoh on the spot with just a phantom. Moreover, the remnant soul of the Blood Phoenix was also killed by the godly cunning immortal. You should know that this Blood Phoenix is an existence that even the ancient immortal Han Xing could not kill. After these words were said, the cultivators who were sitting next to him and listening all gasped. What? The godly cunning immortal is so powerful. Terrible, too terrible. Fortunately, the Blood Phoenix did not escape. Otherwise, it would be a disaster for the whole world. That's right, the godly cunning immortal is really too righteous. Not for fame, not for profit, such a strong person. I think we should build a temple to worship. That's right, but after all, we haven't seen it with our own eyes. So many big people don't believe it. Hearing this, Sun Hao's heart had already stirred up a storm. This was simply a godlike existence. Too powerful. This godly cunning immortal. I must go and pay my respects in the future. It is best to worship him as a master. At that time, with such a powerful master to protect him, wouldn't he be able to run amok in the world? Thinking of this, Sun Hao's heart itched, and he wished he could cultivate now. Let me tell you, a few days ago in the western region, another major event happened. What major event? The Green Mist sect was destroyed, and everyone was turned into skeletons. According to the investigation of the Supreme Court, it was found that this was done by the Ancient Dragon Clan. Ancient Dragon Clan? They actually attacked a 7th-class sect? Damn it, do they really think the human race is easy to bully? You're right. Even the Supreme Court doesn't dare to control the actions of the Ancient Dragon Clan. Even immortals have to lie down. Damn it, the world is going to be chaotic again. I really hope the godly cunning immortal can control it. Hearing these voices, Sun Hao's fists were clenched. A 7th-class sect had tens of thousands of disciples. It was actually swallowed by a dragon. How could this be? It turned out that in this world, besides the 2 races of evil and demon, there were other races that could also bully the human race. This world was too dangerous. He must hurry up and cultivate to protect himself. After a long sigh of relief, Sun Hao stood up and opened a large suite with Huang Rumeng. Rumeng, are you familiar with this West Prefecture Immortal City? Sun Hao asked. Young master, I'm not very familiar with it. I don't know what young master wants to know. Huang Rumeng said. Rumeng, I want to know where is the strongest immortal cultivator in West Prefecture Immortal City? Sun Hao asked. Young master, please wait a moment. Then, Huang Rumeng released her divine sense and scanned the entire West Prefecture Immortal City. With her current soul power, even if the realm was higher than her, no one could detect it. Drinking enlightenment tea and immortal tea with Sun Hao for so long was not in vain. Talent and soul had reached an extremely terrifying realm. In addition, this was just the largest immortal city in the western region, so there was nothing to worry about. A moment later, Huang Rumeng withdrew her divine sense, and a trace of caution appeared on her face. Young master, according to my observation, the strongest people are now located on a building in the center of West Prefecture Immortal City. Huang Rumeng said. A building in the center? Rumeng, can you deal with these people? Sun Hao asked. Easy, Huang Rumeng said lightly. As soon as these words came out, Sun Hao was relieved. This gift-giving naturally had to start with the strongest person. Otherwise, it was better to give a pair to the strongest person and earn 1 or 2 blessing points than to give an ordinary cultivator and earn thousands of blessing points. Rumeng, then you take me there, Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. Huang Rumeng led the way in front, and Sun Hao followed closely behind. Soon after, the two stood in front of a building that was 100 meters high. This building covered an area of thousands of square meters. In this West Prefecture Immortal City, it was particularly conspicuous. On the building, 3 golden glittering characters immediately attracted Sun Hao's gaze. Chapter 108. Stargazing Tower. Sun Hao looked at these 3 big characters and nodded secretly. This name was really not bad. Young master, please come in. Whatever our stargazing tower wants, we have it. What do you need? Just tell me. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. When the waiter saw Sun Hao's extraordinary clothes, he quickly stepped forward and greeted him warmly. What do you need? It seemed like everything was needed. The problem was that he didn't have any spirit stones. Rumeng seemed to have one. As long as he asked, Rumeng would definitely take it out. However, the accommodation was already paid for by Rumeng. Now that he needed Rumeng to pay for the things he bought, he really couldn't bring himself to say it. It was better to live off a woman less. A big man, using a woman, eating a woman, or a woman protecting him. Now, did he still have the face to ask for money to buy things? We don't buy anything. We're just looking around. Sun Hao said, Young master, please do as you wish. I want to accompany you. Hearing this, Sun Hao was slightly taken aback. He actually didn't mock him as a pauper. A big place was indeed different. The quality was really high. Rumeng, let's go in. Sun Hao walked into the hall with Huang Rumeng. What was printed in front of Sun Hao was a huge plaque. Buy and sell all the treasures in the world. Below the signboard, there was a line of small words. The fairest price, the most satisfactory service. Simple and clear. When he entered the hall, he was greeted by a sea of people. It was like entering a hospital in his previous life. Look, young Master Jean is here. At this moment, an exclamation sounded. Swish. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the second floor. Sun Hao squinted at it, and his eyes couldn't help but shine. On the stairs of the second floor, a white-robed man with a fan in his hand looked at the crowd with a smile. He had an imposing appearance, and there was a heroic spirit between his brows. He was well-mannered and elegant. One look, and you could tell that he was a cultured person. This kind of person might like paintings. Give him a pair. No, if I sell him a pair, I don't know if he will buy it. This place doesn't accept all the treasures in the world. In the eyes of those who like paintings, my painting is also a priceless treasure. Thinking like this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. Young master, he is the one with the highest strength. Huang Ruming's voice came. Hearing this, Sun Hao's light was even more intense. What? Stargazing Tower's young master Jean Tianpeng actually came here. It's him. No wonder he was so handsome. I was fortunate to meet Jean Tianpeng. Today's trip was not in vain. So young. I wonder if he has a Dao companion. The group of female cultivators stared at Jean Tianpeng with fiery faces. Jean Tianpeng folded his fan and cupped his fist with a smile. Thank you for your kindness. This Jean came to the western regions to find the godly cunning immortal. If you have any news, please inform me. This Jean will be grateful. Jean Tianpeng said. As soon as these words came out, the people below looked at each other. Look for the godly cunning immortal? We also want to find the godly cunning immortal. How could you find such a powerful being just because you wanted to? For a moment, no one spoke. Jean Tianpeng smiled awkwardly and continued to speak. That's just one of the reasons. The other reason is that I'm here to collect all sorts of treasures. From today onwards, the price of the treasures collected by the Stargazing Tower will be increased by 10% on the original basis for only 3 days. As soon as these words came out, the surroundings quietened down instantly. Many people picked their ears, unable to believe what they heard. Stargazing Tower's collection of treasures was already the most fair price. More than 90% of the treasures obtained by immortal cultivators would be sold to the Stargazing Tower. It could be said that in the entire Tianluo continent, 90% of the transactions related to cultivation were monopolized by the Stargazing Tower. The Stargazing Tower was so profitable. Naturally, there were forces who had ideas about it. However, the forces who had ideas about the Stargazing Tower had quietly disappeared. 100 years ago, the Central Region Holy Land Gu family was not evil, and when the family was in danger, they attacked the Stargazing Tower. They did win that battle and seized countless treasures of the Stargazing Tower. However, they were happy for less than a day. On the morning of the third day, there was no one in the entire Gu family, and they all disappeared. No one knew how they disappeared, and no one knew where they went. On the third day, the Stargazing Tower opened again. The 4 major families of the Holy Land had since become 3 major families. Since then, no one dared to have ideas about the Stargazing Tower. Young Master Jean, is this true? Someone's face showed a touch of disbelief. Oh, do I, Jean Tianpeng, talk like this? Jean Tianpeng pretended to be angry. Young Master Jean, you misunderstood. It's just that your words are a bit scary and hard to believe. Everyone, if you want to sell things, go to the counter now. Only 3 days, no delay. You can bring any treasure. My Stargazing Tower can still afford it. If you think it's too expensive, you can come to the 8th floor to find me. After speaking, Jean Tianpeng flapped his fan and walked upstairs with a smile. After everyone reacted, there was a continuous explosion. Great, I just have a few things to sell. Everyone, don't push, line up, come one by one. Don't worry, there are 3 days. Everyone, don't worry. The hall was quickly restored to order under the maintenance of the staff. Among them, there were some people who went upstairs. Sun Hao looked up at the 8th floor and smiled slightly. This Jean Tianpeng wants to find the godly cunning immortal, then I have to have a good relationship with him. When the time comes, it will be much easier for me to see the godly, cunning immortal. You should like calligraphy and painting, right? Let's try. Thinking of this, Sun Hao looked back at Huang Rumeng. Rumeng, let's go upstairs. Okay. Along the way, no one stopped him, and Sun Hao easily walked to the 8th floor. However, there was a long line at Zhang Tianping's door. So many people? Sun Hao's face showed a trace of displeasure. The most annoying thing was to line up. After crossing over, he still had to line up. Trouble. Huang Rumeng glanced at Sun Hao, walked straight to the front of the cultivator, and took out 10 high-grade spirit stones. This position, I want it. What? High-grade spirit stones? The cultivator's eyes glowed, and he took the high-grade spirit stones. Fairy, please. After speaking, he quickly retreated and lined up at the back. Young master, please. Rumeng, this, Sun Hao showed a touch of embarrassment. Asking a woman to pay for it again. This soft rice was really delicious. Sun Hao walked to the first position, and Huang Rumeng accompanied him. Is it great to have money? Even line up to buy it. Very sour, right? It's really great to have money, and you can do whatever you want. Humph. A mortal carrying so many spirit stones. Be careful of encountering an accident. A group of cultivators whispered, and the sour taste kept coming. Huang Rumeng's cold eyes swept, and her breath was slightly released. Buzz, like a tsunami, it pressed toward a group of cultivators. At this moment, the cultivator's face behind her changed dramatically, and cold sweat flowed. How is this immortal? This was obviously an incomparably terrifying figure. So terrifying. They lowered their heads and did not dare to breathe. Creak. The door opened. Zhang Tianping waved his fan and walked out of the house. Behind him, 2 old men followed. Both of these people were not weaker than Zhang Tianping. Zhang Tianping looked at Sun Hao and Huang Rumeng, frowning. Mortals? Both of them were mortals? No. The aura they emitted just now was extremely terrifying. In that case, he couldn't see through the 2 people in front of him. They came with bad intentions. Although the stargazing tower was not afraid, he was afraid. This kind of character, killing him was also a waste of time. Even if he could avenge the forces behind him. So what? What was the purpose of looking at the 2 of them? Thinking so, Zhang Tianping looked at Sun Hao and Huang Rumeng. According to many years of experience, this man and woman were obviously in charge of the man. Zhang Tianping raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a smile with 8 teeth. This young master, I don't know why you are looking for me. Chapter 109. Zhang Tianping looked at Sun Hao and smiled with 8 teeth. The man in front of her was handsome and dignified. Each and every one of his movements was natural, looking extremely natural and somewhat aesthetically pleasing. This kind of person was definitely a disciple of an aristocratic family. Beside him was a woman wearing a veil. Looking at her figure, she was definitely a peerless beauty. Both of them didn't seem to have any spiritual power fluctuations, just like mortals. He wouldn't dare to underestimate him like this. Just now, when he was in the room, he sensed a faint aura fluctuation outside. Zhang Tianping could confirm that one of them was a peerless expert. No matter who it was, they were all existences that he could not afford to offend. Thinking like this, Zhang Tianping walked forward, cupped his fists, and bowed. Young master, what business do you have with me? Didn't you take all treasures? I have one here. Would you like to buy it? Sun Hao said, and took out a picture scroll from his arms. When the cultivators behind them saw this, they couldn't help but cover their mouths and snicker. If he wasn't afraid of Huang Rumeng's strength, he would have laughed out loud. Was this guy here to be funny? Selling secular paintings to young Master Zhang? This boy. One look and you could tell that he was a hothead. He even dared to humiliate the stargazing tower. He was really tired of living. A group of cultivators looked at Sun Hao, smiling and shaking their heads. A hint of displeasure appeared on Zhang Tianping's face. Selling a secular painting to him was an obvious humiliation. This kid did not put the stargazing tower in his eyes at all. Do you think my stargazing tower is easy to bully? Today, even if I have to die, I will definitely poke a hole in your body. Zhang Tianping was about to explode. When he saw the painting from the corner of his eyes, his pupils couldn't help but narrow. This scroll was not simple at all. Jean Tianpeng looked at the scroll. Young master, can you show it to me? Of course. Sun Hao handed the scroll to Jean Tianpeng. As soon as he touched it, Jean Tianpeng's scalp went numb and his pupils shrank. This drawing paper is made of spirit wood. No, it was made from immortal wood. And it's not made from ordinary immortal wood. Who drew this? To actually be so extravagant, it's simply a waste of a treasure. Jean Tianpeng cursed 100 times in his heart and slowly unrolled the scroll. Boom! It was as though a bolt of lightning had struck his mind. He looked at the painting in front of him, dumbfounded, unable to describe it with words. This is Taoist rhyme, an extremely rich Taoist rhyme. This moneymaker painting is definitely a treasure. It's impossible for ordinary immortals to draw something like this. Jean Tianpeng's heart was already crazily battered by raging waves. His heart was beating so violently that it felt like it was going to jump out of his throat. If he could possess this scroll, his strength would advance by leaps and bounds. This painting scroll was a supreme treasure. Although he was shocked, he had developed the ability to keep a straight face since he was young in the business world. The moment he opened it, he immediately closed it and did not let the Taoist rhyme dissipate. His lips curled up. Both of you, please follow me. All right. Sun Hao and Huang Rumeng followed Jean Tianpeng into the house. The door closed, blocking all prying eyes. Young master, please sit for a while. I'll be right back. After saying that, Jean Tianpeng quickly left with the two old men. They came to another secret room. Elder Gu, Elder Zhong, how many immortal crystals do you have? Jean Tianpeng asked. Only now did the two old men regain their senses. Shock was written all over his face. Young master, I have 120 spiritual crystals on me. Young master, I have 160 spiritual crystals on me. Lend it to me first. Including the money I have, I only have 1,280 yuan. Sigh, I didn't bring enough fairy crystals with me this time. These fairy crystals are not enough for me to buy the moneymaker painting. I must get it. I'll use the spirit stones to pay for it later. If it really doesn't work, I'll get the moneymaker painting even if I have to write an IOU. Jean Tianpeng muttered to himself as he secretly made up his mind. After a few long breaths, Jean Tianpeng calmed down and stood in front of Sun Hao. Young master, what do you think of these? After speaking, Jean Tianpeng presented a bag with both hands and handed it to Sun Hao. Sun Hao opened it and saw a bag of stones shining with blue light. It looked good and could be used as decoration. I wonder how much it's worth. Young master, a total of 1,280 low-grade immortal crystals. Huang Ruming's voice passed directly into Sun Hao's ears. Immortal crystal, is this thing valuable? Sun Hao asked. Young master, you could buy 10 Jianyang cities. Huang Ruming said. What? 10 Jianyang cities? One of his paintings could be worth 10 Jianyang cities? Was this a dream? It turned out that his paintings could also be used to sell for money. Moreover, could it be worth 10 Jianyang cities? If he had known, why would he give it away for free? However, he would only buy it if he met someone he liked. Otherwise, it was just a piece of waste paper. At first glance, the young master in front of him was from a big family. His family had mines, so he didn't care about this. Sun Hao frowned, revealing a thoughtful look. Jean Tianpeng saw the change in Sun Hao's face, and his heart trembled. It seemed that the young master thought this price was too low. Indeed, he wanted to buy such a peerless treasure with these immortal crystals. It was too greedy. Young master, how about this? I will add another 100,000 top-grade spirit stones. How about it? Jean Tianpeng said. Sun Hao didn't speak, but looked at Huang Ruming. Young master, this is equivalent to 1,000 low-grade immortal crystals. Hearing this, Sun Hao's heart shook. This was equivalent to buying nearly 20 Jianyang cities. Thinking about it made people extremely excited. Seeing that Sun Hao didn't speak, Jean Tianpeng gritted his teeth and took out a card. Young master, this is the Supreme VIP card. With this card, you could buy anything in my stargazing tower with a 50% discount. As long as the young master can sell this painting to me, I, Jean Tianpeng, will owe you a favor. In the future, as long as the young master asks, Jean Tianpeng will do it without delay. Jean Tianpeng looked at Sun Hao with an extremely nervous expression. His heart beat violently. Sun Hao took the Supreme VIP card and looked it up and down. In his heart, there were already stormy waves. Buying things at 50% discount? Wasn't that a loss-making deal? In the future, when he came to buy things, the stargazing tower would lose a lot. With this card, when he embarked on the road of cultivation, he wouldn't have to worry about not having cultivation resources. In addition, he said he owed me a favor. In the future, he would use this favor to ask him to help find the godly cunning immortal, which would be much easier. Thinking of this, Sun Hao secretly nodded. That's fine, I can sell it to you, Sun Hao said. Hearing this, Jean Tianpeng couldn't help but be overjoyed. No matter how he suppressed it, he couldn't restrain it all. Thank you, young master. Jean Tianpeng cupped his fist and saluted, taking the painting scroll in his hand as if he had obtained a treasure. Young master, if you still have such a painting scroll, you can sell it to me. I'll take it all. Jean Tianpeng patted his chest with a face of assurance. What? You'll take it all? Be careful that I paint you until you go bankrupt. Of course, what he said couldn't be believed. Sun Hao smiled and shook his head with a look of disbelief. Young master, you don't believe me? Jean Tianpeng's face showed a trace of displeasure. Chapter 110. As a businessman, honesty was the most important thing. How could the dignified young master of the stargazing tower break his promise? How could he go back on his words? Jean Tianpeng looked at Sun Hao, his chest rising and falling. It's not that I don't believe it, but I can't believe it. Sun Hao said. Young master, why? Jean Tianpeng said. Because it will make you bankrupt. Sun Hao said. What? Go bankrupt? Young master, you must be joking, right? Don't tell me you have countless of these treasures. How is this possible? To be able to obtain one of these supreme treasures was already a heaven-shaking fortune. It was impossible for him to obtain another one. Young master, you are looking down on the financial resources of my stargazing tower. Jean Tianpeng said. I'm really not looking down on you. Sun Hao looked helpless. Speaking the truth actually made him so angry. Of course, it was impossible for him to sell everything to him. Otherwise, the stargazing tower would have to change owners. Would the force behind stargazing tower let him off? Young master, if you have it, just take it out. I will take it all. Jean Tianpeng said. All right. Sun Hao was helpless. He took out a picture scroll from his arms and presented it to Jean Tianpeng. After the scroll was unrolled, Jean Tianpeng's eyebrows twitched. Taoist aura. Endless Taoist rhymes. It was drawn on celestial paper again. This piece of work was no worse than the previous one. This supreme treasure must be obtained. However, before he could react, Sun Hao took out another pair. It was another painting that was not bad at all. Then, under Jean Tianpeng's dumbfounded gaze, he took out one painting scroll after another and spread them out one by one. There were 5 of them. Every pair was no worse than the one Jean Tianpeng had bought. This shocking scene strongly stimulated Jean Tianpeng's nerves. He opened his mouth, and it trembled up and down, not closing for a long time. Behind him, the 2 old men were completely scared silly. There were actually so many of these peerless treasures. It was simply unimaginable. Could it be that these works were all made by this young master? Impossible. Only an ordinary immortal could paint such a work. The young master who looked like a mortal was actually a peerless immortal? Would you believe that? From the looks of it, this young master must have obtained some kind of opportunity, obtaining quite a few immortal works. These 6 immortal works were probably all the treasures he had on him. Jean Tianpeng nodded to himself. He had to obtain the remaining 5 immortal works. Young master, I am willing to buy all 5 of your paintings. Name a price. Jean Tianpeng said. Sun Hao smiled slightly and did not answer. Instead, he looked at Huang Rumeng and said, Rumeng, take out another 20 paintings. Yes, young master. Huang Rumeng waved her right hand, and 20 paintings were stacked on the desk. This terrifying scene strongly stimulated the eyes of Jean Tianpeng and the others. That kind of shock, that kind of disbelief, that kind of stupor. Words could not describe it. At this moment, time seemed to have stopped. Everyone's expression froze at that moment. After a long while, phew, the sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air rose and fell. They looked at Sun Hao as if looking at a monster. The feeling of wanting to take it for himself surged through his entire body. Despite this thought, no one dared to make a move. Since he dared to take it out so openly, it meant that he had absolute confidence. Could it be that these paintings weren't obtained by the young master, but painted by him? Thinking of this, Jean Tianpeng's body trembled. "Young master, may I ask who painted these?" Jean Tianpeng asked. "My foolish work. Let young master Jean see a joke." Sun Hao said. Boom! A thunderclap blasted in Jean Tianpeng's mind. His heart was like a heavy blow, suddenly jumping. It was really painted by the young master. In this way, the young master was a peerless immortal. Hiss! Jean Tianpeng took a few breaths of cold air again. He had always thought that he had practiced a calm state of mind. In fact, it was all fake. That was because he didn't see the peerless treasure. Today, when he saw the young master, the shock did not stop. The young master is practicing his Tao heart with a mortal body. You must not break it, otherwise I will definitely kill you. A voice rang in the ears of Jean Tianpeng and the other two old men. The three looked at each other and nodded secretly. "Young master, I was rude just now. Please forgive me. I take back what I just said." Jean Tianpeng aimed at Sun Hao, bowed, and cupped his fists. A small matter, a small matter." Sun Hao waved his hand, smiled slightly, left 3 paintings, and handed the rest to Huang Rumeng. "Rumeng, put these away." "Yes, young master." Huang Rumeng waved her right hand, and all these paintings were put away. "Since you like it, these 3 paintings, I will give them to you." Sun Hao gave the 3 paintings to Jean Tianpeng and the others. As soon as these words came out, the 3 people stood in place. The hands that took the paintings were trembling slightly. "Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master." He was so excited that he almost knelt down. "You're welcome," Sun Hao said. "Young master." Seeing that Sun Hao was about to leave, Jean Tianpeng wanted to say something but stopped. "If you have something to say, just say it." Sun Hao said. "Young master, may I ask where you live so that I can visit you?" After saying this, Jean Tianpeng lowered his head. The young master was a peerless immortal. This was a big opportunity. How could he not grasp it? If he missed this time, there would be no next time. Even if he was killed by an immortal, it was worth it. "I live in the south of the Great Demon Mountain. If you have nothing to do, you can come and sit off and drink and chat together." Sun Hao said. "What? Come and sit often? Drink and chat? I can drink and chat with a peerless immortal? What a great fortune!" Jean Tianpeng clenched his fists, and his body trembled slightly with excitement. "Thank you, young master. I will come often," Jean Tianpeng said. "Okay, I will wait for you to come over." After Sun Hao finished speaking, he walked out of the room with Huang Rumeng. A smile was written all over his face. In this business, he made a lot of money. They came out. They didn't beat them? How is it possible? They humiliated the stargazing tower like this, and they didn't do anything to them? No way. Could it be that they sold the paintings? A group of cultivators looked at the 2 of them, full of doubts. Huang Rumeng's gaze swept, and these cultivators lowered their heads, not daring to look at her. Sun Hao completely ignored these voices. He gave the bag containing the immortal crystals to Huang Rumeng. "Rumeng, these immortal crystals, you keep them." "Yes, young master." Huang Rumeng took the immortal crystals. The corners of Sun Hao's mouth rose, and he was in a good mood. From now on, he was not living off a woman. With so many immortal crystals, he could buy a lot of things. By the way, what should he buy? Sun Hao frowned, showing a thoughtful look. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows. "Rumeng, it's so hard to fly. Then buy a flying boat. It will be much more convenient to go anywhere in the future." "Yes, let's do that." Thinking like this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. Since the stargazing tower accepted all treasures, naturally flying boats also had to be sold. "Rumeng, let's go buy something." Sun Hao said. Okay, young master. Huang Ruma nodded and followed Sun Hao closely. Chapter 111. Outside the West Prefecture Immortal City, there was a huge flying boat sales market. This market was owned by the Stargazing Tower. On this day, a young man with an outstanding temperament walked in. His name was Qin Yu, and he was the son of the patriarch of the Qin family in the West Prefecture Immortal City. It's him, the Qin family's first sequence, the future heir to the family head. Him? Can he be the patriarch? That's true. How could a good-for-nothing become the Qin family's first sequence? The number one alchemist, Master Qin, actually gave birth to a trash son. What a pity. Grandmaster Qin has been worried sick for him. He has used countless pills, but he's still trash who can't cultivate. Seeing Qin Yu come in, many cultivators whispered to each other and discussed in low voices. That ridicule and contempt was written all over everyone's face. Qin Yu completely disregarded all of this. He walked into the Chun Lai building, his expression unchanged. Young Master Qin, you're here. What kind of airboat are you going to buy this time? At this moment, a shop assistant came forward and welcomed them with a smile. Let me take a look first, Qin Yu said. Have a look? When the waiter heard this, he was startled and his face turned ugly. How could this kind of trash afford it? At that time, only the useless salesperson would care about it. Not far away, many people were pointing and whispering. The shop assistant's expression was extremely ugly. However, he quickly recovered and smiled. Young Master Qin, please come with me. All right. Qin Yu was led into the exhibition room by the shop assistant. Let's go and take a look. What's there to see? How can he afford a flying boat? It's because I can't afford it that it looks good. Many people followed and watched from afar. Young Master Qin, this is an inferior grade flying vessel. Its speed is comparable to that of a Mahayana cultivator. 10 low-grade spiritual stones, and I can fly for a day at full power. The airship can carry 500 people at most. There are 50 rooms in total. As for the price, it's not that expensive. It only costs 10 top-tier spirit stones. The waiter introduced, his eyes occasionally glancing at Qin Yu. Qin Yu remained unmoved. He glanced at the 8-meter-tall flying boat and then walked to the other one. Young Master Qin, you have good taste. This is a mid-grade flying boat. It's called Swift Brilliance, and its speed is as fast as a tribulation-passing realm cultivator. The flying boat can carry 1,000 people, and its energy consumption is low as well. 10 middle-tier spirit stones can fly for a day. You can take it home for only 100 best-grade spirit stones. The waiter spoke for a long time, but Qin Yu's complexion didn't change at all. Is there a better one? Better. The shop assistant's face showed a trace of displeasure. Young Master Qin, of course we do, but the price is not cheap. A high-grade flying boat requires at least 5 immortal crystals. Hearing this, Qin Yu's complexion changed. Can you give me a discount? Discount? Of course you can, but you need a VIP card. Hearing this, Qin Yu's complexion turned ugly, and he sighed inwardly. Then, he turned around and walked back. Haha, as expected, I'm just here to take a look. I thought he was a big shot. Is there anything better? Bah, he's obviously a pauper. As the first sequence of the Qin family, he's useless and poor. It's a complete waste of resources. The eccentric voice continued to ring out. Qin Yu turned a deaf ear to these. In other words, he had heard so much that he had formed an immunity. He clenched his fists secretly, sped up, and ran out. Bang! Accidentally, he bumped into a man and was dizzy. Are you okay? A voice sounded. Looking up, he saw a man with an extraordinary temperament standing in front of him. He was gentle and elegant, and his smile was as warm as the spring breeze. Behind the man was a woman with a veil on her face. That kind of extraordinary temperament, at a glance, made Qin Yu have a feeling of inferiority. He had read a lot of poetry and books, and he could also be regarded as a scholar. But compared with the young master in front of him, the gap was more than 108,000 miles. An expert. He must be an expert. Qin Yu struggled to stand up and respectfully clasped his fists. I'm sorry, young master. It doesn't matter, Sun Hao said with a smile. Young master, my name is Qin Yu. I was rude just now. Please go to the Drunken Moon Tower to apologize. Chinyu said. No need. Sun Hao waved his hand. Young master, if you don't go, I will feel uneasy. I'm also a poet, and I have many questions to ask young master. I hope young master will not hesitate to enlighten me. Chinyu said. Poet? That was a mortal. The painting scroll naturally couldn't be given to him. However, he asked for advice, which sounded good. Yes, but I still have something to do now. Let's talk about it later. Sun Hao said. Young master, are you going to buy a flying boat? Chinyu asked. Sun Hao nodded. Then can I accompany you? Of course. Young master, please come here. I am familiar with this place. Please come with me. Okay. It was best to have someone lead the way. Under the leadership of Chinyu, Sun Hao walked into the exhibition hall. All the cultivators around looked at this scene and pointed at it from time to time. TCH, this Qin family waste, it's really happy to stay with mortals. Waste can only find a sense of existence when they are together. What do you know? A contemptuous gaze swept directly to a few people. Even the guy who originally brought Chinyu, after taking a look, smiled coldly and didn't take it seriously at all. The other guys also turned a blind eye and didn't see Sun Hao at all. Young master, what kind of boat do you want to buy? Chinyu asked. What kind of boat? Sun Hao frowned slightly. What's the price? Young master, low-grade flying boat, 10 top-grade spirit stones. Middle grade, about 100 top-grade spirit stones. As for the high grade, the price is different. The price is more than 5 immortal crystals. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. Take me to see the high-grade flying boat. Sun Hao said. Young master, please. Chinyu took Sun Hao to a flying boat up to 20 meters high. The flying boat was black all over, exuding a thick metallic luster. On the flying boat, the word Ghost was written. Young master, this flying boat is called Ghost. It belongs to the high-grade flying boat. The fastest speed can reach the peak of crossing Calamity Realm. Open the shield, it can resist the full attack of the early stage of crossing Calamity Realm. It can carry 2,000 people at the same time. Open a shield and fly at full speed. It only costs 10 top-grade spirit stones a day. The energy consumption is quite low. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. Is there a better one? Young master, of course. I heard that there's a top-grade flying boat here, Purple Lightning. No one has ever bought it. Chinyu said. Purple Lightning? Sun Hao nodded slightly. The name sounded good, and it must be very fast. He just didn't know if the price was expensive. If it was more than 1,000 immortal crystals, he was a little reluctant. However, he asked first, what's the price of this Purple Lightning? Sun Hao asked. Young master, I don't know the specifics, but it must be about 100 immortal crystals. Chinyu said. 100? Please take me to see it. Yes, young master. Chapter 112. What? Want to see Purple Lightning? A mortal wants to see Purple Lightning? Cultivators without VIP cards are not qualified to see it. That's right, Purple Lightning is the final treasure in this western region. Ordinary people are not qualified to see it. That's not necessarily. As long as you can take out 100 mortal crystals, you are still qualified to see it. Oh, 100 immortal crystals? Can that mortal take it out? Who cares? It's good to follow and see the joke. A lot of immortal cultivators were pointing and discussing behind him. Although the voice was small, it clearly reached Sun Hao's ears. Sure enough, all-mouthy king and contrarians exist in every world. This world seems to have more. People like this generally live at the bottom. Life is not satisfactory everywhere, and they are excluded and suppressed. Therefore, they use this to suppress others, elevate themselves, and get fun from it. Although he disdains to slap their faces, his strength does not allow it. With the supreme VIP card in hand, when he takes it out later, his face will definitely be slapped. AI. He cannot be high profile. Sun Hao shook his head secretly, followed Chinyu, and left quickly. A moment later, the two came to a closed exhibition room. Stop. A guard pointed at the three people and shouted. The corner of Chinyu's mouth rose, and he walked forward with a smile. This guard had a very close relationship with himself, and they were brothers. It should be no problem to let him open the door and take the young master to see purple lightning. Brother Gu, this young master wants to see purple lightning. Please make it convenient. Qin Yu said. Brother? You dare to call me brother? Trash, get lost. Don't think that you are the son of Master Qin, and I am afraid of you. Let me tell you, I am from the Stargazing Tower. The guard pointed at Qin Yu and scolded him. Qin Yu stood in place, dumbfounded. Yesterday, he warmly called me Big Brother, and today he immediately turned his back on me? Except for Qin Yu, who was stunned in place. The onlookers behind him were also stunned in place. What's the situation? Isn't this good Qin very close to Qin Yu? I don't understand. Just when everyone was confused. Tap, tap. A group of people surrounded a young man and walked quickly. Congratulations to young Master Qin for becoming the first in line. In the future, the position of the family head will belong to you. Young Master Qin, you're amazing. You've actually refined a supreme grade elixir. Master Qin was stunned on the spot. I'll immediately confer you the first sequence. Congratulations, future Qin family head. The sound of flattery could not be heard. Standing in the middle of the crowd was the genius of the Qin family, Qin Dongjun. He raised his head slightly, and his face was filled with pride. Not at all. Everyone is overpraising me. It's still too early to talk about the patriarch. There are so many geniuses in the Qin family. I'm just a grain of sand among them. Qin Dongjun said. Young Master Qin, you're so humble. That's right. Young Master Qin is worthy of being called the #1 genius in alchemy. His modesty is something we can't compare to. When the surrounding cultivators heard these discussions, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. No wonder good Qin ignored him. It turns out that Qin Dongjun took the first position in the sequence. If that's the case, then Qin Yu is truly trash from now on. Everyone nodded their heads as realization dawned on them. They saw. Good Qin quickly ran to Qin Dongjun and saluted respectfully. Young Master Qin, you're here. What can I do for you? Qin Dongjun was slightly startled. He glanced at Qin Yu from the corner of his eyes, and a proud look flashed away. I'm going to buy a flying boat. Flying boat? Young Master Qin, there's a superb flying boat, purple lightning. Please come with me. I'll take you to see it right away. Good Qin nodded and bowed, quickly walked to the door, and opened it. Qin Yu's face was livid, and his fists were clenched. Humiliation and anger surged all over his body. Finally, he unwillingly let go of his hands. Qin Dongjun glanced at Qin Yu with a proud face and walked proudly to the showroom. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao sighed secretly. He had seen this scene many times. This was a regular routine in novels. He didn't expect it to be so common in this world. It stood to reason that Qin Yu should have an old grandpa or an awesome golden finger at this time, and then go back and slap his face hard. However, in the end, it was impossible here. Since that's the case, let me avenge you. Sun Hao Yin smiled slightly and reached out to hold the Supreme VIP card. When he was about to take it out, ding ding, a rush of footsteps sounded. Immediately afterward, wait, with a soft shout, everyone's expression stagnated, and their footsteps stopped. Turning around, they all stared at the person. They saw a lean middle-aged man coming quickly with a group of people. On the middle-aged man's forehead, fine beads of sweat overflowed. The color of fear was written all over his face. Seeing this person, everyone looked shocked. Shopkeeper Wang. How come even Shopkeeper Wang is alarmed? Is there a need to say that? It must be Qin Dongjun becoming the first sequence. When Shopkeeper Wang learned of this, he rushed over to congratulate him. Yes, the Qin family is the #1 supplier of medicinal pills in Stargazing Tower. Without them, Stargazing Tower will have no rice to cook. That's right. When Qin Dongjun heard these words, his eyes flickered with uncertainty. His heart beat violently, and he looked nervous. He didn't expect that when he became the first sequence, Shopkeeper Wang would come and greet him. This kind of vanity was supreme. So touched, Qin Dongjun trotted toward Shopkeeper Wang and enthusiastically extended his hand. Shopkeeper Wang, you are so polite. However, Qin Dongjun stood there awkwardly. Shopkeeper Wang completely ignored his actions. He bypassed him, and quickly ran to Sun Hao. Then his body bowed 90 degrees. "Greetings, young master." Silence. Very quiet. Dead silence. Everyone stared blankly at this scene, and they couldn't help but rub their eyes, full of disbelief. That kind of shocked appearance was indescribable in words. It turned out that shopkeeper Wang didn't come to see Qin Dongjun, but to see that mortal. What was the identity of that mortal that he respected so much? When did he see shopkeeper Wang give such a big salute to others? Even if he faced the young master of Stargazing Tower, he was not so respectful, okay? Could it be that the identity of this mortal was higher than the young master of Stargazing Tower? Thinking of this, the sound of gasping sounded constantly. They looked at Sun Hao, and on their faces there was doubt and awe, and there was worship and puzzlement. "You are?" Sun Hao was also full of doubts. He didn't know this person at all. Why such a big salute? "Young master, my name is Wang Ji, the shopkeeper of Stargazing Tower in this West Prefecture Immortal City. Your matter, the young master has already ordered, as our distinguished guest. Please forgive me for not entertaining you." After speaking, Wang Ji saluted respectfully again. As soon as these words came out, hiss, the sound of cold air gasping came one after another. "What? Distinguished guest? In the entire Western region, I haven't heard of anyone who is a distinguished guest, right? In this way, doesn't this mortal come from the Holy Land of the Central Region? It is very likely that he is from the three great families." The sound of explosions kept ringing. Qin Yu looked at Sun Hao, his eyes flashing. Sure enough, he didn't see it wrong. The young master turned out to be from the Holy Land. He must be from the three great families, right? "Shopkeeper Wang, you're welcome. Fortunately, Brother Qin brought me in, otherwise, I'm afraid no one will pay attention to me." As soon as these words came out, boom, a thunderous explosion sounded. Many shop assistants' heads roared. The guard Guqing collapsed to the ground in the first moment. His face was full of horror. Thump, thump. The sound of kneeling kept ringing. A group of shop assistants knelt in front of Sun Hao and kept kowtowing. "Young master, we have eyes but no eyes. Young master, please give us a way to live. Young master, please be magnanimous and let us go." Chapter 113. Looking at these people crying in pain, Sun Hao shook his head for a while. He laughed so loudly just now, and spoke so proudly just now. "What? Are you regretting it now? If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have acted in the first place. You didn't offend me, so why are you begging me for mercy? You should go to the shopkeeper, not me," Sun Hao said. As soon as he said that, they turned around and knelt in front of Wang Ji, begging for mercy. Looking at these people, Wang Ji's face was cold, and he clenched his fists tightly. He had told them time and time again that the customer was God, and they could not look down on him. However, there were still people who violated it. These scum had to be dealt with. He waved his right hand. "Men, take them away." "Yes." A group of guards rushed over. Like a pack of wolves and tigers, he escorted them away. "No, shopkeeper Wang, we were wrong." Miserable cries could be heard continuously. "Young master, please follow me." Wang Ji walked into the exhibition room with Sun Hao. It was only after the figures of these people disappeared that the onlookers recovered. Many people secretly wiped off their cold sweat and revealed a wisp of joy from surviving a calamity. Today, they had mocked and ridiculed him. Fortunately, that young master didn't care about it. Otherwise, even if he didn't die, he would at least lose his skin. Was there something wrong with their brains after offending such a big shot? When he saw mortals in the future, he must not casually mock them. Many cultivators left the crowd and left quickly. Qin Dongjun stood there and secretly wiped his cold sweat. Even shopkeeper Wang had about him, so how could he afford to offend him? Fortunately, there was no conflict. He had to leave this place as soon as possible to avoid trouble. Thinking of this, Qin Dongjun looked at Qin Yu and smiled coldly. "Your eyesight is good, but how can a waist like you hug the thick thighs of such a character?" Then, Qin Dongjun quickly left. Now, there were only a few people standing outside the showroom. Qin Yu glanced at the gate and sighed inwardly. His foresight was indeed not bad. However, the other party might not take him seriously. Sigh. It was so hard to make a friend. Qin Yu hung his head down and walked away. Remember to set up a table at the Drunken Moon restaurant. At this time, Sun Hao's voice came from the exhibition room. With these words, Qin Yu's gloomy face brightened once more. Young master, I'll go now. You must come. All right. Hearing this, Qin Yu's body was filled with strength, and he rapidly left. In the showroom, young master, I was disrespectful just now. As an apology, this purple lightning is a gift to you. Shopkeeper Wang said. This is not very good, right? Sun Hao said. Young master, as long as you don't mind. Young master, look. Wang Ji pointed at the flying boat and began to introduce it. The body of the purple lightning ship is made of amethyst and has an extremely strong defense. Coupled with the array, it can withstand the full blow of a third-stage Ascendant Realm cultivator. The most important thing is that it ascends at full speed, equivalent to a 4-step Ascendant Realm cultivator flying. There are all kinds of living facilities inside. Even if I don't come out for 8 to 10 years, it won't be a problem. The energy consumption isn't high either. If I fly at full power, I only need 10 top-quality spiritual stones a day. Hearing Shopkeeper Wang's introduction, Sun Hao's eyes flashed. This flying boat was too much to his liking. In the future, he wouldn't have to stand on the tip of the sword and let Rumung fly him. With this thing, he could do a lot of things with Rumung in the flying boat. What are you thinking? Don't think about it. Shopkeeper Wang, how much is this? Sun Hao asked. Young master, it costs 200 immortal crystals to sell it to others. Since young master likes it, it is naturally for you. I hope young master will accept it. Wang Ji said, don't spend a penny? Just get such a ship? This is worth several Jianyang cities, right? He said it so firmly that it was embarrassing not to accept it. In that case, thank you, Shopkeeper Wang. Sun Hao said, who, when Shopkeeper Wang heard this, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, young master was generous. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Young master, please, let's go on the flying boat and have a look. Okay. Under the leadership of Shopkeeper Wang, Sun Hao and Huang Rumung came to the interior of the flying boat. The inside of the Purple Lightning was very large, like a large luxury cruise ship, with nearly 1,000 rooms. Alchemy room, cultivation room, refining room, living room, kitchen, and other living facilities for cultivators and mortals were all available. Soon after, the three came to the Purple Lightning Control Center. Shopkeeper Wang pointed to the crystal ball floating in the middle of the array and said, Master, this is the boat core made by Master Emo himself. As long as spirit stones or immortal crystals are integrated here, the boat core can start running. 10 top-grade spirit stones can run at full power for a day. Shopkeeper Wang introduced it sentence by sentence, very hard. If you use immortal crystals, how long can it run at full power? Sun Hao asked, Immortal crystals? Shopkeeper Wang was taken aback. Using immortal crystals to drive the flying boat? Isn't that too extravagant? If you use immortal crystals, even if you keep the array open and fly at full power, it is conservatively estimated that one immortal crystal can support 3 months. Shopkeeper Wang said, What? 3 months? He had more than 1,000 immortal crystals on him. Wouldn't that be able to continue to open for more than 3,000 months? Counting it, it was nearly 300 years. If he couldn't cultivate, he might not be able to live so long. It turned out that immortal crystals were so valuable. Sun Hao stared at the boat core, his eyes shining. Suddenly, he frowned slightly, showing a touch of doubt on his face. He saw that on the boat core, it was densely covered with lines. Rays of light flowed on the lines, poured into the array, and flowed to the entire flying boat. The lines on the boat core were extremely stiff. At first glance, it was carved by a novice. Compared with his first carving, he was afraid it was several times worse. It was too bad. Sun Hao shook his head secretly. Shopkeeper Wang, who is Master Mo? Sun Hao asked. Young master, this Master Mo is the #1 array master in the Tianluo continent, and the boat cores he engraved are the best. The tool pavilion he is in charge of is even more famous in the Tianluo continent. In the Tianluo continent, more than 90% of the flying boats are made by the tool pavilion. Speaking of this, shopkeeper Wang's face showed a touch of admiration. Then the lines on this are all engraved by Master Mo? Sun Hao asked. Not bad. Shopkeeper Wang nodded. Seeing shopkeeper Wang nodding, Sun Hao frowned secretly. Could it be that the array master only needed to engrave lines? It wouldn't be so simple, right? If so, then try it according to his boat core. Thinking so, Sun Hao reached out and grabbed the boat core. As soon as this scene appeared, shopkeeper Wang's face changed drastically, and he shouted, "Young master." It was just too late. As soon as he shouted the word, "Young master," Sun Hao had already touched the boat core. The boat core was picked up by him and looked at it in his hand. Hearing the shout behind him, he looked back at shopkeeper Wang. "What's wrong?" It's okay, young master. You grabbed the boat core, right?" Shopkeeper Wang smiled and waved his hand again and again. On his forehead, fine beads of sweat rolled down. If this boat core exploded, I'm afraid the entire flying boat would be blasted into powder. Such terrifying power in the hands of the young master didn't have any reaction. "Oh, you mean this? I'll take it out and have a look. These lines are a bit stiff. I'm going to engrave one myself." Chapter 114. Shopkeeper Wang looked at Sun Hao, and his face changed. The person who dared to grab the boat core, made by Master Mo with his bare hands, was either an immortal or the child in front of him. The young master caught it so easily, he was definitely not an ordinary immortal. "Young master, you really did not see wrongly. The young master is indeed a peerless immortal." Shopkeeper Wang nodded secretly, looking at Sun Hao's eyes full of worship. They saw. Sun Hao looked back at Huang Rumeng and said, "Rumeng, give me a piece of wood." "Yes, young master." Huang Rumeng took out a piece of red sandalwood and handed it to Sun Hao. The moment this item appeared, shopkeeper Wang was dumbfounded. This is the supreme spiritual wood? No, that's not right. This is immortal wood. I can't see any immortal wood of this grade. It seems that this piece of wood is just an ordinary piece of wood in the eyes of the young master. Shopkeeper Wang murmured to himself. His heart was shaken, and he couldn't calm down for a moment. Suddenly, shopkeeper Wang raised his eyebrows. Looking at Sun Hao, his face was full of doubts. "Young master, this is?" They saw. In front of Sun Hao, there were all kinds of carving knives. After staring at the boat core, his gaze returned to the purple sandalwood immortal wood. Then he took out all kinds of carving knives and began to carve. A moment later, a round wooden ball was formed. Its size was the same as the core of the ark. Sun Hao began to carve according to the lines on the boat core. An hour later, buzz, with a tremor, countless spiritual energy imperceptible to the naked, I surged over and entered the wooden ball. The patterns on the wooden ball seemed to have come to life, flickering with a dazzling light. It looked like a precious jewel, intensely stimulating shopkeeper Wang's eyes. This, shopkeeper Wang's mouth was agape as he muttered to himself. He didn't close his mouth for a long time, his face filled with disbelief. Young master is actually an array master. With a wave of his hand, he can carve out a boat core like this. Such strength is too terrifying. I can't even see the grade of this boat core. In that case, young master is much stronger than Master Mo. Hiss! Shopkeeper Wang sucked in a few breaths of cold air as his chest heaved up and down violently. Their gazes of admiration and reverence swept across the room. Sun Hao took the engraved boat core and compared it with the purple lightning boat core. It was obvious that his drawing was 10 times better. Every line was very natural, with an indescribable smoothness. "Shopkeeper Wang, do you think I could put this on it?" Sun Hao asked. Of course." Manager Wang nodded mechanically. "All right." Sun Hao nodded and put his boat core into the center of the array. At this moment, buzz, there was a tremor. Layers of airwaves spread out rapidly. Bang! Bang! The ship's protective array was unable to withstand the power of the ship's core and quickly exploded. The entire flying ship was trembling slightly. "What's going on?" Sun Hao frowned. Young master, I'm really sorry. The core you carved is too strong. The flying boat's defense formation is unable to withstand it. Right now, this flying boat can no longer activate its barrier. It can only be used for flight, Manager Wong said. Was the core he carved too strong? If that's the case, doesn't that mean I'm better than that array master? So I'm an array master? Sun Hao murmured, his eyes full of light. The engraving technique taught by the system turned out to be a formation. To become an array master, even if one did not have the ability, one would still be respected by everyone. If that's the case, I can. The more he thought about it, the more excited Sun Hao became. The light on his face shone inextinguishable. Take me to see it, Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. Manager Wong took Sun Hao and walked towards the explosion site. Along the way, what he saw was a scorched black. In some places, even the hull made of amethyst had melted. Amethyst was a kind of top-grade spirit iron, extremely hard. Manager Wong looked at these, and he was shocked to the extreme. This amethyst, which had to be melted at tens of thousands of degrees, could not withstand the power of the young master engrave the core of the boat, and it melted. Moreover, the surrounding array patterns were all obliterated. Young master, you are really amazing. You are a peerless immortal, and I can stand next to you. I'm afraid this is a blessing that can only be cultivated for several lifetimes, right? Manager Wong muttered to himself, and a light flickered. Sun Hao looked at this scene, and his face was full of shock. This power was so terrifying. He almost destroyed the purple lightning. Now, without the array pattern, he couldn't engrave it. It was really a clever woman can't cook without rice. Manager Wong, do you still remember the lines in these positions? Sun Hao asked. Young master, this, Manager Wong showed a bitter face and shook his head again and again. Then do you have a map of the boat protection array? Sun Hao asked. Young master, the array map is in the hands of the formation master, and it will never be passed on except for apprentices and relatives. However, if young master wants it, I will find a way. Manager Wong said. In that case, thank you, Manager Wong. Sun Hao smiled and nodded. With the array map, he could also be regarded as a formation master. In the future, his fame would slowly shake the entire cultivation world. At that time, there would be an endless stream of visitors. He would give each of them a little thing and collect full blessing points. Presumably, after the godly cunning immortal heard of his own deeds, he was likely to take the initiative to find him and accept him as a disciple. The more he thought about it, the more brilliant Sun Hao's eyes became. Young master, since the flying boat has been damaged, then we will compensate you with another one. Manager Wong said, That's not necessary. Although there is no boat protection array, at least it can still fly. Sun Hao said, Young master, how can this be? My heart is uneasy. Manager Wong said, It's really okay. Sun Hao waved his hand, took out a picture scroll from his arms, and handed it to Manager Wong. Manager Wong, thank you for sending me the flying boat. This small gift, please accept it. Sun Hao said. As soon as these words came out, Manager Wong's body trembled, and his eyes were straight, staring at the picture scroll. The material of the picture scroll in the young master's hand was by no means simple, and even he couldn't see through it. Could it be made by the immortal wood? How dare he accept such a treasure at will? Young master, how can this be? What? Do you dislike it? In that case, I don't want this purple lightning. Sun Hao pretended to be angry and walked out. Young master, I accept. He took Sun Hao's picture scroll and opened it. Who? The diorama was like a wave, rushing out. Manager Wong was suddenly scared silly and quickly rolled it up. Such a terrifying diorama. This was really the first time he saw it. The young master's means were simply incredible and unimaginable. Thank you, young master. Manager Wong bowed 90 degrees and saluted Sun Hao. You're welcome. Sun Hao waved his hand with a smile on his face. It's not early today, because I still have an appointment with young Master Qin. I will not disturb Manager Wong, and will leave today. After Sun Hao finished speaking, he walked out of the flying boat. The three people came to the flying boat, and Huang Rumeng waved her right hand and took the flying boat into the spiritual space. Young master, take care. Chapter 115. Stargazing Tower in the top floor. Jean Tianpeng and the two old men looked at the four paintings on the table with endless joy on their faces. Phew! Boundless Taoist rhymes rose from the painting and filled the entire house. Even standing here, he could feel his Tao heart growing rapidly. His strength was increasing rapidly. This was a great fortune. Young master, we've really struck gold this time. Yes, young master. This peerless immortal painting is hard to find. I didn't expect that the young master would directly give us 3 of them. This is really amazing luck. You're right. Jean Tianpeng smiled and nodded. Since young master gave it to us, then everyone should take one. Cultivate well. As soon as these words came out, the two old men's expressions changed. Young master, we are only servants. How could we dare accept such a treasure? Young master, you should take care of this treasure. Jean Tianpeng looked at the two old men with a serious expression. Uncle Zheng, Uncle Fong, this is the good fortune that the young master gave you. How can I take it for myself? You've been with me for so long. I've long regarded you two as my family. Take them and train hard. That way, you'll be able to protect me better, right? Jean Tianpeng said. Tears welled up in the eyes of the two elders. Young master, thank you. The two of them knelt down and kept kowtowing. Meanwhile, outside the door, there was a rush of footsteps. Young master, are you there? It was the voice of shopkeeper Wang. Come in. The door opened, and shopkeeper Wang walked in. He faced Jean Tianpeng and knelt down. Young master, what's the matter? Stand up and speak. Yes, young master. After that, Boss Wang told him what had happened in the airboat market just now. Jean Tianpeng listened attentively, his expression constantly changing. When he heard that Sun Hao carved out the boat core, and even shopkeeper Wang couldn't distinguish the grade, he was dumbfounded and didn't respond for a long time. Young master is actually an array master. Young master, who exactly are you? Jean Tianpeng murmured, his eyes full of worship. What did you say? You're saying that the young master carved the core of the boat, caused the protective formation on violet lightning to explode? Even the hull has melted a lot. Jean Tianpeng asked. Yes, young master. Shopkeeper Wang nodded. As soon as he finished speaking, hiss, 3 people sucked in a cold breath. The faces of Jean Tianpeng and the two old men were filled with shock. They took a few deep breaths before they gradually calmed down. Not only is young master's strength terrifying, but he's also a supreme formation master. To be able to befriend such a peerless immortal, we are truly fortunate. The faces of the few of them were filled with gratitude. Shopkeeper Wang, please continue. Jean Tianpeng said. Yes, young master. Shopkeeper Wang continued. When Shopkeeper Wang said that Sun Hao needed the array atlas, Jean Tianpeng raised his eyebrows, his face full of joy. I can finally help young master with something. Jean Tianpeng murmured and clenched his fists. Young master, this is a painting from young master. Shopkeeper Wang presented the painting that Sun Hao gave him in front of Jean Tianpeng. Jean Tianpeng smiled. Shopkeeper Wang, that's enough. What young master gave you is your good fortune. Accept it. What? Shopkeeper Wang widened his eyes in disbelief. He was able to get to this position of shopkeeper. In addition to being conscientious, he never took outside money. This made the Zhang family value him very much and gave him the position of shopkeeper of the West Prefecture Immortal City. Young master, how can this be? Shopkeeper Wang continued to present the painting scroll in front of Jean Tianpeng. Shopkeeper Wang, I naturally know what you have done for my Zhang family over the years. Not to mention that this is a gift from young master. Even if he didn't give it to you, I'm going to give you one. Jean Tianpeng said. Hearing this, Shopkeeper Wang shed tears of gratitude. He was so moved that he couldn't express it in words. He kept kowtowing and thanking him. Young master, from today on, you are the master of Wangji. I will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. Young master, you are also the master of Zhenghuai. Young master, you are also the master of Fongbo. The two old men also knelt down and began to kowtow. Okay, get up. What you said is wrong. Since the good fortune is a gift from young master, you should thank young master. Understand? Jean Tianpeng said. Young master, we understand. The three of them got up. I will say it again. Young master is training as a mortal. This matter cannot be made public. Do you understand? Yes, young master. Young master needs the array diagram. Then we must find a way to get it for young master. Jean Tianpeng said. Young master, I will go to the treasury now. Send it to young master. After shopkeeper Wang finished speaking, he ran out. Stop! Jean Tianpeng shouted and stopped shopkeeper Wang. Young master? You. Jean Tianpeng pointed at shopkeeper Wang and sighed. You have been a shopkeeper for so many years. Don't you even understand this most basic principle? How can a person like young master take a fancy to those array diagrams? Jean Tianpeng said. This, shopkeeper Wang was stunned, then sighed. Young master, I was confused just now. I was wrong. Young master, what should we do now? An old man asked. What a peerless immortal like young master needs is naturally not an ordinary array diagram. What he wants must be an immortal array diagram. We must find a way to help young master get the immortal array diagram. Jean Tianpeng said. When they heard this, they nodded at the same time. Shopkeeper Wang, you have been a shopkeeper for so many years. Have you heard any news about this? Jean Tianpeng asked. Shopkeeper Wang frowned and began to think. After a while, shopkeeper Wang raised his eyebrows and looked at Jean Tianpeng. Young master, I know a person who may have an immortal array diagram. Who? Jean Tianpeng's eyes lit up. Am I how sure? Shopkeeper Wang said. What? It's him. Jean Tianpeng frowned slightly. Am I how sure, as the top array master in Tianluo continent, is admired by countless people. Beside him, there's a group of powerful cultivators. It will not be easy to get the immortal array diagram from him. Young master, legend has it that 300 years ago, Mo Haoshur obtained a mysterious heavenly pattern, which recorded not only array patterns, but also runes. The reason why Mo Haoshur can become the strongest array master is because of this mysterious heavenly pattern! Presumably, the mysterious heavenly pattern is by no means simple. It is likely to be an immortal array diagram. Listening to shopkeeper Wang's introduction, Jean Tianpeng frowned and thought. Then he clenched his fists, his face firm. It seems that the young master needs the mysterious heavenly pattern. In that case, this mysterious heavenly pattern must be obtained at all costs. Yes, young master. The three of them clasped their fists together. Young master, when are we leaving? Shopkeeper Wang asked. Of course, the sooner the better. Otherwise, the young master will be unhappy if he waits too long. Uncle Zheng, Uncle Fong, you two will follow me to the eastern domain today. Jean Tianpeng said. Yes, young master. Chapter 116. Drunken Moon Inn. Young master. Seeing Sun Hao's arrival, Qin Yu quickly rushed forward with a smile on his face. His face was filled with awe. Young master Qin, I've waited for a long time. Sun Hao said. Young master, I'm willing to wait no matter how long it takes for you to come. Young master, please come in. The three of them went to the private room on the top floor and sat down. Young master, this is Drunken Moon Inn's best tea, Drunken Immortal. This tea is refreshing and refreshing. It's extremely rare. After speaking, Qin Yu poured a cup for Sun Hao and Sun Hao respectively. Drunken Immortal? The name sounds nice, but I wonder what it tastes like? Thinking like this, Sun Hao picked up the cup and smelled it a little. Suddenly, a feeling of extreme discomfort surged. It smelled awful. You call this refreshing and refreshing? What kind of joke was this? Compared to his Dahong Pao, it was several levels lower. From the looks of it, no spiritual tea in this world could compare to his Dahong Pao. What's wrong? Young master. Seeing Sun Hao put down the cup, Qin Yu's face was full of worry. This tea doesn't suit my taste. I'll just drink the one I brought. After speaking, Sun Hao gave Huang Rumming a look. Huang Rumming understood and took out all kinds of tea sets. Grabbing a handful of Dahong Po, Sun Hao began to boil tea. Qin Yu sat beside her, his expression constantly changing. This pot of tea had cost him dozens of supreme-grade spirit stones. It was extremely precious. He had saved up for a year. Now that he had lost his position as the first echelon, It would take him at least 8 to 10 years to earn another top-tier spirit stone. In order to invite the young master to a banquet, he had put in a lot of effort. Unexpectedly, the young master didn't even fancy the most expensive drunken immortal. Sigh, what should he do? A young master, this is brew tea? Isn't this action too beautiful? What kind of tea is that? I have never seen it before. Because he was unable to cultivate, Qin Yu was naturally unable to see through to Hong Pao. Not long after. Young Master Qin, how about drinking my tea? Sun Hao's voice awakened Qin Yu. Okay, Qin Yu subconsciously said. Young Master Qin, please. Sun Hao poured him a cup of tea and presented it to him. Many thanks, young master. Qin Yu picked up the cup and took a small sip. Instantly, Qin Yu froze where he was. Its fragrance was like orchids and osmanthus, and its taste was like sweet rain. As soon as the hot tea entered his mouth, a chill gushed down his throat and seeped into his meridians before gathering in his brain. Kacha! The sound of an eggshell cracking rang in his mind. In Qin Yu's mind, some sort of spell cracked open. At this moment, his soul was rapidly strengthening. This is spiritual energy? I can sense spiritual qi now. Great waves surged in Qin Yu's heart. Following his family's cultivation method, he began to absorb the surrounding spiritual energy. Kacha! A sound rang out. In just a few breaths, Qin Yu reached the peak of qi condensation. However, this did not stop. The enlightenment tea not only contained soul-strengthening energy, but it also contained surging spiritual energy. The spiritual energy quickly gathered in his dantian and quickly transformed it. In less than a moment, Kacha! Another sound rang out, and a boundless dantian sea quickly formed. This is the supreme dantian. What kind of good fortune am I? How can a small sip of tea be so powerful? Could it be that young master gave me enlightenment tea? Impossible. Just now, young master clearly grabbed dozens of tea leaves. How can it be enlightenment tea? What am I thinking? How could someone like me possibly drink that kind of supreme treasure? Thinking of this, Qin Yu shook his head secretly and slowly opened his eyes. He looked at the bag of tea in front of Sun Hao, and his scalp exploded. Enlightenment tea. It was definitely enlightenment tea. Young master actually had so much enlightenment tea, my God. Legend has it that in that place, there was a great force that controlled an enlightenment tea tree, which would only produce one leaf in 3,000 years. Could it be that young master came from that place? And he was the ancestor of that great force? It must be so. Otherwise, where could there be so much enlightenment tea? The ancestor of that great force was the strongest immortal of the human race, Zhong Yi. Such an existence was actually sitting in front of him, thinking about it. Hiss! Qin Yu took a few breaths. How many lifetimes did he have to cultivate to be able to exchange for this kind of good fortune? Heavens, you finally opened your eyes. These years of humiliation could finally be washed away. Qin Yu's heart was shattered by the torrent. For a while, it was difficult to recover. Young Master Qin, is it not to your taste? A sound awakened Qin Yu. Young Master, no, your de Hongpo is so delicious. The aftertaste is endless. Then don't be stunned. It won't taste good when it's cold. Yes, young master. Qin Yu picked up the teacup and continued to drink. Ding, blessing point +1. Ding, blessing point +1. Such prompts kept ringing. Hearing these voices, Sun Hao was slightly startled. This guy was not immortal at all. He was hidden deep enough. In that case, he would give him a little gift later. I will send him a set of calligraphy later. Sun Hao secretly made a decision. Soon after. Knock, knock. Outside the door, there was a knock on the door. Dear guests, shall we start serving the dishes now? This sound awakened Qin Yu. No need. Before Qin Yu could speak, Sun Hao answered first. Since the tea was so bad, the dishes would not be delicious. I'd better make it myself. Young master, this. Qin Yu's face showed a touch of embarrassment. He invited the young master to dinner, but the young master didn't eat a bite, and the young master actually invited him to drink enlightenment tea. How could he live with this in his heart? Young Master Qin, if you don't mind, I'll cook a meal. How about you try it? Young master, how can this be? It's good that you don't dislike it. What's the big deal about getting the blessing point and cooking a meal? Next, Huang Rumeng took out various kitchen utensils, and Sun Hao began to move. In Qin Yu's stunned gaze, a fine side dish was presented in front of him. Crystal clear, like a piece of art. The unique fragrance came to his nose. His stomach couldn't help but growl, and his index finger moved. Young Master Qin, come, don't be polite. Yes, young master. Young Master Qin. I heard that your Qin family mainly relies on alchemy? Sun Hao asked. Yes, young master. Then you know a lot about alchemy, right? How dare I? In front of the young master, it's nothing at all. I have a few questions here I want to ask the young master, and I also ask the young master to give me 1 or 2 pointers. I don't dare to give pointers, but if I can know, I will naturally say everything I know. The delicious food was memorable, and the young master spoke elegantly. Every word struck directly at Qin Yu's heart, making him feel as if he had been enlightened. In front of him, there was a straight road leading to the peak of alchemy. It turns out that this is the real alchemy. Qin Yu's heart shook, and his eyes looking at Sun Hao were full of worship. He pricked up his ears and listened, not daring to let go of Sun Hao's words. Before he knew it, a few hours had passed. Qin Yu stood up and knelt down. Young master's kindness, I will never forget it. You're welcome. Get up first, I still have a small gift for you. Young master, how can this be? It's okay, take it. Chapter 117. Outside the West Prefecture Immortal City, a purple flying ship slowly rose into the sky. Sun Hao took out an immortal crystal and sent it into the energy slot. Sizzle. On the core of the boat, the 5-colored electric arcs kept jumping up and down and went straight into the immortal crystal. The immortal crystals melted at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into colorless sparks that were absorbed by the boat core. 5-colored lightning flickered on the core of the boat, looking extremely dazzling. Phew! With the core as the center, rays of light spread out like a spider web. Buzz! A sound rang out, and the flying boat trembled slightly, like a plane about to take off. Young master, to control the flying boat, you only need to integrate your mind into it. Huang Rumeng said. Consciousness. Sun Hao nodded, sank his heart, and thought about the flying boat. Buzz, his mind buzzed. At this moment, Sun Hao sensed that he was integrated with the flying boat. This feeling was very strange, and there was no discomfort. It was as if he had countless eyes and could see everything around the flying boat. He felt that he was the flying boat, and the flying boat was him. Rise! With a thought, the purple lightning slowly floated into the air. I feel like I can fly. Sun Hao looked at the buildings on the ground getting smaller and smaller, his face full of shock. As an earthling, this was an indescribable experience. Speed up! Boom! With a sonic boom, the flying boat instantly disappeared. It was so fast that no one could react. So fast, Sun Hao controlled the flying boat, sometimes rising into the air, sometimes descending. Huang Rumeng stared at Sun Hao with a look of worship. This flying boat's core was probably 100 times stronger than the previous one. Now, the speed of the flying boat was on par with his full speed. It was too terrifying. Until now, Huang Rumeng had never heard of any flying boat that could have such a terrifying speed. Even if it was the Queen Mother's carriage, it would only be able to move at half the speed. Rumeng, do you want to try? Sun Hao retracted his consciousness and said, Yes, young master. West Prefecture Immortal City, Qin Clan. In the main hall, the patriarch sat upright with a dignified expression. He was the #1 alchemist in the West Prefecture Immortal City, Qinzheng. At the same time, he was Qin Yu's father. He was respected by countless people. However, his son, Qin Yu, failed to live up to expectations. He had never been able to cultivate. Apart from his rich theoretical knowledge, he couldn't even concoct a single low-grade spirit pill. Today, the great elder's son, Qin Dongjun, refined the best spirit pill. As a last resort, Qin Zheng gave the first sequence position to Qin Dongjun. Patriarch today is the first echelon handover ceremony. Where's Qin Yu? At this moment, the great elder stepped forward. I've already sent people to look for him. Qin Zheng said. Look for him. The great elder sneered. Patriarch, you aren't deliberately stalling for time, are you? Patriarch, we understand. Qin Yu is your son, but you're the patriarch of the Qin family. You must consider the future of the Qin family and not your own selfish interests. The future development of the Qin clan will depend on the younger generation. Clan head, it's already been 2 hours. Why don't I send someone to look for him? One by one, the elders stepped forward. Qin Zheng's face was livid and extremely ugly. Don't think that I don't know. That Qin Dongjun did not refine the best Great Spirit pill at all. Everything was done behind the scenes. For the sake of the family, he turned a blind eye. Although Qin Yu couldn't refine pills, his knowledge of alchemy was unparalleled. In the future, when he became the patriarch, his contribution to the entire family would be extremely great. However, these elders, for their own selfish interests, actually colluded with each other. Then you send someone. Qin Zheng sighed secretly. Yes, patriarch. An elder raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a cold smile on his face. Come with me to find young Master Qin. No need. At this moment, a voice sounded. Qin Yu strode in. He looked at the group of elders without changing his expression. I don't know what the elders are looking for me for, Qin Yu said. Young Master Qin, today is the first sequence handover ceremony. As the predecessor, how can you not be present? An elder said. Predecessor? Qin Yu smiled coldly. Did I agree? As soon as these words came out, there was a dead silence all around. Everyone's face was filled with disbelief. The patriarch's appointment. Does he need your consent? Where's your face? The elder smiled slightly. Young Master Qin, this doesn't seem to need your consent, right? Is that really the case? According to Article 51 of the family rules, the succession handover requires one's alchemy talent to surpass the predecessor in order to not need the predecessor's consent. Could it be that Elder Chung has forgotten? As soon as these words came out, there was a dead silence. Many people widened their eyes, and their expressions were strange. They wanted to laugh, but they didn't dare to laugh. Finally, someone couldn't hold it anymore. Alchemy talent? This guy actually has the face to say alchemy talent. I'm dying of laughter. I'm dying of laughter. The patriarch really gave birth to a good son. Don't laugh. Can't you see that the patriarch's face is very ugly? Qin Dongjun stood in the crowd of disciples. First stunned, then he covered his mouth and snickered. This guy, he still hasn't given up. Hearing these laughter, Qin Zheng's face was livid, and his fists were clenched. Enough! A loud shout immediately quieted everyone. Hold the first sequence handover ceremony. Qin Zheng's voice was cold, echoing faintly in everyone's ears. Father, shut up. Don't you think it's shameful? Qin Zheng shouted loudly, immediately making Qin Yu shut his mouth and no longer speak. On his face, there was an incomparable disappointment. He sighed secretly and retreated to the side. Yes, Patriarch, I accept the order. The Grand Elder stood up, bowed and clasped his fist, glanced at Qin Yu, and his face was full of pride. The handover ceremony begins. The Grand Elder shouted loudly. Qin Yu looked up to the sky and laughed crazily. Do you think I will care about this first sequence? This position, I don't want it. From today onwards, I, Qin Yu, have nothing to do with the Qin family. Qin Yu's voice was insolent, and his laughter echoed between heaven and earth. After he handed over the first series of tokens, he knelt in front of Qin Zheng. Father, thank you for your kindness in raising me. After 3 kneels and 9 kowtows, Qin Yu got up, turned around, and strode away quickly. That decisive look made Qin Zheng's expression stagnate. Qin Zheng opened his mouth and was powerless to make a sound. The handover ceremony officially begins. Invite the first sequence, Qin Dongjun, to the stage. The Qin family was continuing to perform the first sequence ceremony for Qin Dongjun. At this moment, Qin Yu was already far away from the Qin family, running quickly on the street alone. Soon, he came to a mansion. On the door of the mansion, there were 2 words, Fan Mansion. Isn't this young Master Qin? Looking for Miss again? Sorry, Miss is not at home. Not at home. Qin Yu's face changed slightly, but he quickly calmed down. Brother, please inform Miss Fan. Brother? Who is your brother? Get lost. Do you think I'm lying? A waste like you dares to come to my family's miss. The guard pointed at Qin Yu and scolded him. Qin Yu looked at the guard, clenched his fists, and a mass of anger rushed straight up from the soles of his feet and kept hovering in his chest. At any time, it would explode. On his face, there was a hint of disbelief, and he secretly muttered, "Impossible! Schwerer is not such a person." Qin Yu ran around the stone wall, sped up, and ran to the backyard of Fan Mansion. Chapter 118. Schwerer, are you home? I miss you so much, Schwerer. I know you won't leave me. Say something. Qin Yu stood outside the courtyard door and shouted loudly. I said Miss is not here, and still dared to yell, "Be careful, I beat you." Schwerer, I know you are not such a person. Beat for me. Ouch. Schwerer, I know you are kind-hearted. Schwerer, I will not give up on you. In the courtyard, in a pavilion, a woman heard these words. Her eyebrows wrinkled slightly, and her face was full of impatience. A waste, do you really think I, Fan Shui, will look at you? Now, you're no longer the first sequence, and you still have the face to come to me. Waste. Fan Shui secretly cursed. In a situation that was really unbearable, Fan Shui strode out of the courtyard and looked at Qin Yu coldly. Shui. Qin Yu's face was bruised and swollen, and there was a touch of surprise on his pig-like face. Don't call me Shui. Schwerer, what's wrong with you? What's wrong? Fan Shui's face was full of sneers. Do you really think that I really like you? Why don't you take a piss and look in the mirror with your bare appearance? Don't you know it at all? Now, I am engaged to Qin Dongjun. Get out of here. Don't bother me. The voice was cold, without a trace of emotion. When Qin Yu heard this, he was full of disbelief. The gentle Fan Shui from before was gone. It turned out that her true face was so ugly. Huh. Qin Yu stood up and laughed up to the sky. In the voice, there was endless despair. Then, he took a step and walked away quickly. That night, the celebration of Qin Dongjun as the first sequence was held, and countless guests flocked to it. The entire Qin family, brightly lit, toasting a lively scene. After 3 rounds of drinking, suddenly a gust of wind sounded. Immediately afterward, the dark sky suddenly lit up. As time passed, the sky became brighter and brighter. Countless purple clouds swept over, reflecting the West Prefecture Immortal City into purple. Over the West Prefecture Immortal City, it rotated rapidly, like a purple top, rushing to an end. In the West Prefecture Immortal City, a group of immortal cultivators stood in place, staring blankly at the sky, full of disbelief. This is purple chi from the east. What? Purple chi from the east? Why is there such a phenomenon? Legend has it that refining a supreme elixir will produce such a phenomenon. But with such a strong concentration, I'm afraid it's the best of all peerless spirit medicines. What? There's actually such an alchemist in this world? Cries of surprise rang out continuously. Everyone's gaze followed the purple aura. It's over there. All the purple gas has surged into Heavenly Fortune Inn. With such an alchemy grandmaster staying in the Heavenly Fortune Inn, I must pay him a visit. Go. The Qin clan's banquet instantly collapsed. All the cultivators rushed to the Heavenly Blessing Inn. Even Qin Dongjun followed the crowd quickly. In this world, there is actually such a great alchemy grandmaster. If I can become his disciple, it will be a great fortune. Qin Dongjun secretly clenched his fists and sped up to fly forward. On the other side, Fan Shui looked in the direction of the Heavenly Fortune Inn and clenched her fists. If I can follow this alchemy grandmaster, I will have no regrets in my life. The surroundings of the Heavenly Fortune Inn were densely packed with people. Everyone stood in the same place, not daring to make a sound, for fear of provoking the alchemy grandmaster. Look, the purple gas is all gone into the inn. This kind of means shocking the heavens and earth, making ghosts and gods weep. It's terrible. This is completely an alchemy grandmaster. Could he have come from that place? That goes without saying, Tianluo continent. There has never been such a great alchemy grandmaster. Many cultivators whispered. Looking at the Heavenly Fortune Inn, their faces were full of worship. Buzz, there was a shock. A layer of airwave, centered on the end, spread around. The sound was not loud, but it shook everyone's ears. Everyone's face was full of shock. Make way! At this time, a group of guards opened the way in front. The Qin clan and the Fan clan came together. A group of immortal cultivators immediately squeezed back, opening up a path. What? The Qin clan and the Fan clan are alarmed? How can this be? That goes without saying. How can the Qin clan and the Fan clan miss this kind of alchemy grandmaster? They looked at the two teams, their eyes full of envy. Qin clan's Qin Zheng greets the grandmaster. Fan clan's Fan Luo greets the grandmaster. The two voices were in unison, and they saluted respectfully. Creak, there was a sound. The window opened. A man wearing a mask and dressed in black stood by the window. He calmly glanced at the crowd and faintly said, "Why are you looking for this old man?" The voice was old, but it was a roar in people's ears. Qin Zheng and Fan Luo's face changed slightly, and they hurriedly clasped their fists and saluted. "Senior, your alchemy skills are amazing. I admire it very much, and I came to pay my respects." "Is that really the case?" The black-clothed man said. "Senior, not a word is false." The two nodded in unison. "Since you've already paid your respects, you can go back," the black-clothed man said. The two looked stagnant, and for a moment they stood in place in a dilemma. "Qin Zheng, Fan Luo, I won't embarrass you, leave," the black-clothed man said. Qin Zheng's face was ugly. He shook his head helplessly, retreated to the crowd, stood on the edge, and continued to watch. The Fan family's patriarch opened his mouth and walked back helplessly. "Qin Dongjun, what are you doing here?" the black-clothed man asked. As soon as these words came out, Qin Dongjun's expression stagnated. His face was full of surprise and emotion. "Senior actually knows my name? Could it be that the senior has already investigated everything about me in order to accept me as a disciple?" Plop! Qin Dongjun knelt on the ground and kowtowed. "Senior, I am here to worship you as a master." "Worship? Are you right? You are willing to be a waste as a master?" the black-clothed man said. "Senior, don't joke. If you are a waste, then all the alchemists in the world are waste. Senior, I am willing to worship you as a master and never regret it." After that, Qin Dongjun performed 3 kneels and 9 kowtows. The black-clothed man did not look at Qin Dongjun, but looked at Fan Shui. "Fan Shui, what are you doing here?" "Senior, this little girl is willing to follow you and never leave," Fan Shui said. "Aren't you engaged to Qin Dongjun? Does he agree?" As soon as these words came out, Fan Shui was taken aback. This senior was indeed extremely knowledgeable to even know this. Such a character, if she can follow by his side, her good fortune is infinite. Plop! Fan Shui knelt down and kept kowtowing. "Senior, don't worry, he will agree." "Senior, I agree, I completely agree." After that, Qin Dongjun also kept kowtowing. Seeing this scene, the black-clothed man looked up to the sky and laughed like crazy. Never leaving, never abandoning. Worship me as a master. You guys are ridiculous." The voice gradually changed from old to young. He slowly took off his mask, revealing his true face. Immediately, the air stagnated and time stood still. Everyone's face was full of shock. "What? Qinyu? Isn't he a waste? How is this possible? Could it be that everything was fake? Is he deliberately acting?" Exclamations kept exploding. Qinyu didn't speak, let alone explain. He just waved his right hand lightly. Ordinary elixirs flew up and condensed into liquid in the sky. These liquids quickly merged and shone. Buzz, the world trembled. Infinite purple gas rushed in from all directions, forming a vortex and gathered in the liquid. A supreme elixir quickly took shape. This alchemy technique, I've never seen or heard of it before. It's too terrifying. He can actually use low-grade elixirs and refine a supreme elixir. Today, who can do it? Everyone opened their mouths wide and muttered to themselves. "Who?" Qinyu waved his right hand, and the supreme elixir flew into Qin Zheng's hand. "Qin Zheng, this is to repay your kindness of raising me. From today onwards, I, Qinyu, have no father or mother, no friends or friends, no love or hate, only to repay the young master in this life, only to serve the young master in this life. Young master, I'm coming. After speaking, Qin Yu soared into the sky and floated in the air. With a point of his finger, a vortex instantly appeared in the sky. He got into it, turned into a long rainbow, and disappeared into the horizon. At the scene, there was a dead silence. Many immortal cultivators opened their mouths, but they were speechless. That shocked look was indescribable in words. After a long time, oh my God, Qin Yu is actually an alchemy grandmaster. This talent has never been seen since ancient times. Trash? Is this trash? Who dares to say he is trash? Stand up for the old man, and see if I don't beat the shit out of you. Breaking the array with one finger. How many people can compare with this strength? If you say he is trash, then what about you? Less than trash. The sound of explosions kept ringing. Qin Dongjun stood in the same place, too ashamed to show his face. He refined the best elixir completely by cheating. And he, with a wave of his hand, refined a supreme elixir. This was simply heaven and earth. Such a genius of the Qin family was actually forced to leave by himself, ashamed of the Qin family, ashamed of the old ancestor. The faces of the Qin family's elders kept twitching with a look of heartache. He is Qin Yu? Ugh, I am a fucking fool. Why did I say that? My love, don't go. Qin Yu, I love you. I really love you. Endless remorse was written all over Fan Shui's face. She fell to the ground, her whole body lifeless. On the other side, Qin Zheng took out the elixir, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. My son, father is ashamed of you. If I can hold on a little longer, you will never leave the Qin family. I hope you'll be safe all your life. On Qin Zheng's face, old tears flowed. Chapter 119. In one night, Qin Yu's name spread throughout the West Prefecture Immortal City. Those who were interested would soon find out about the meeting between Qin Yu and Sun Hao. Moreover, the young master that Qin Yu mentioned, without thinking, must be Sun Hao. Presumably, it was him who gave Qin Yu such good fortune, becoming a supreme alchemy genius in one day, capable of refining supreme spirit pills. This was a shocking legend. In a tea house, I didn't expect that a peerless immortal would come to this West Prefecture Immortal City. Yeah, I heard that many people have seen that peerless immortal in the Stargazing Tower, but his appearance looks like a mortal without any spiritual power fluctuations. That's normal. How could you see the strength of such a person? Alas, I really regret that I went to the airboat market that day. Come on, you. If you go, you'll just be mocking that kind of person. Yeah, I'm just a F*** all-mouthy king who likes to bicker with others. If I were to bump into that peerless character, I'm afraid I'll annoy that character and kill myself with a single slap. Such discussions took place in many places in the West Prefecture Immortal City. For a moment, the atmosphere of the entire West Prefecture Immortal City had undergone a subtle change. The originally bad-tempered immortal cultivators were obviously much more restrained. They treated strangers and mortals with courtesy. The enmity between many immortal cultivators was resolved, and they became friends. For these, Sun Hao naturally did not know. At this moment, he was controlling the flying vessel with Huang Rumeng. They were traveling the world happily. After flying for a few hours, Sun Hao retracted his consciousness and turned on automatic flight mode. Rumeng, this purple lightning, is really powerful. It can actually fly automatically. Sun Hao said. Hearing this, Huang Rumeng smiled slightly. Yes, young master. How is this Zidian powerful? It was clearly the young master who was powerful. The boat's core had already given birth to an artifact spirit. Although it had just been born, its spiritual sense was like that of a 5-year-old child. It could completely sense the needs of its master. Rumeng, how long do you think it will take to fly home? Sun Hao asked. Young master, this speed is about the same as mine. It will take 2 more days. Huang Rumeng said. So fast. Sun Hao's eyes were full of light. Generally speaking, the speed of a flying boat was far from comparable to that of a cultivator. The difference between the two was that flying boats were used to travel for long periods of time, while cultivators needed to consume spiritual energy to fly, so they were generally only used for short distances. Right now, Ru Meng was the strongest person in the entire Western region. If her speed was on par with hers, didn't that mean that no one in the entire Western region could catch up to her? In the future, what was there to be afraid of? If he was alone, he could also escape by flying boat. Thinking of this, Sun Hao smiled and nodded. I gave out so many paintings yesterday, I should have gotten a lot of blessing points, right? Thinking so, Sun Hao opened the blessing point panel. 36821. Sun Hao looked at the numbers above, and his whole person was dumbfounded. He had given out so many things, yet he only had so few blessing points. It seemed like it only increased by 300 points. What the F asterisk CK? Sending out 6 paintings would only increase his points by 300. What was going on? Sun Hao frowned and thought carefully. Could it really be because he's not at home? Sun Hao thought of the blessing point he obtained from Xin Yuan not long ago. It was the same as giving a painting. Outside the Blood Phoenix nest, there were only 50 blessing points, but at home, there were 500 blessing points. In this way, getting blessing points was related to whether he was at home or not. F asterisk CK, isn't this telling me? Develop wretchedly, don't go wild. Rumung, how strong are Zhan Tianpeng and the 2 old men I saw yesterday? Sun Hao asked. Young master, one is in the 4th stage of Ascendant Realm, and the other 2 are in the 3rd stage of Ascendant Realm. Huang Ruming said, Ascendant Realm? It seems that Xin Yuanshi's realm is almost the same. If this is the case, doesn't it mean that the blessing points given outside are only 1/10 of what is given at home? F asterisk CK, it's better to go back and stay and wait for the blessing points to be collected before coming out. Let's go back and try first. Thinking so, Sun Hao looked at Huang Rumung and said, Rumung, let's go home. Yes, young master. Huang Rumung nodded. Whoosh! The purple lightning flying boat turned into a long rainbow and soon disappeared into the horizon. Central Region Holy Land, Xin Yuan family, in a secret room. Xin Yuan stood in front of Xin Yuan and slowly took out a jar. This jar contained yellow dragon meat. Ooh! When the jar was opened, a strange fragrance came and rushed into Xin Yuan Yi's nose. At this moment, Xin Yuan Yi's taste buds, which had been dusty for many years, were all active, and his saliva was like a stream rushing out. He stared blankly at the crystal-clear dragon meat in the jar, motionless. The tempting luster emitted seemed to be saying, Come and eat me. Goo-goo. His stomach sounded like thunder. Xin Yuan, he showed an embarrassed smile. Little sure, what is this? Father, can't you see it? Xin Yuan sure asked. Mysterious, what the hell is it? Xin Yuan, he asked. Father, take a deep breath and calm down first. Xin Yuan sure said. Is it necessary? Can you scare me to death with a little human food? Xin Yuan Yi's face was full of impatience. Okay then. Xin Yuan sure took the chopsticks, picked up the dragon head at the bottom of the jar, and placed it in front of Xin Yuan Yi. Boom! It was like the 9th heaven's divine thunder exploded in Xin Yuan Yi's mind. Xin Yuan Yi's whole body trembled, and his forehead was sweating profusely. His eyeballs protruded, staring straight at the dragon head, and his whole body collapsed on the stool. This is the dragon head of a yellow dragon, my God. Xin Yuan Yi took countless deep breaths and tried to calm his mood, which made him feel better. After a long time, he looked at Xin Yuan sure. Did you do it? What did I do? Xin Yuan sure asked. Did you kill the yellow dragon? Xin Yuan Yi asked. Father, do you think your daughter has this ability? The yellow dragon was naturally killed by the young master. Xin Yuan sure said. Boom! Another thunder blasted in Xin Yuan Yi's soul sea. His heart trembled, and his chest rose and fell violently. Dare to eat the yellow dragon. That was to offend the ancient dragon race. What kind of existence was the young master? It was so terrifying. Even the ancient dragon race was not in his eyes. Did the young master give you this? Xin Yuan Yi asked. Of course not. Speaking of this, Xin Yuan sure showed a touch of pride. I saw that the young master was going to pour into the pond, so I asked the young master for it. Boom! There was another sound. Xian Yuanyi's face was extremely ugly. He pointed at Xian Yuan Shi and shouted, "Little Shi, how can you be so stupid?" "Father, why do you say that?" Xian Yuan Shi looked puzzled. "Do you know what kind of background the yellow dragon has?" Xian Yuan Yi said, "Isn't it just the ancient dragon race? Compared with the young master, it's nothing." Xian Yuan Shi said, "Stupid. What do you mean it's just the ancient dragon race? What do you mean it's nothing? Don't you know that before ancient times, it was the dragon race who ruled the world? At that time, the human race was raised like livestock. Even if the ancient dragon race has declined now, it's not something that anyone can provoke. Since ancient times, have you ever heard of any expert who has eaten dragon meat?" These words directly stunned Xian Yuan Shi on the spot. Chapter 120. Since ancient times, the experts didn't eat dragon meat, but that doesn't mean they couldn't kill dragons. Rather, I don't dare to offend that terrifying existence behind the ancient dragon clan. Xian Yuan Yi's words struck Xian Yuan Shi like a clap of thunder. She stood there in a daze, not moving for a long time. Looking at his father's appearance, that terrifying existence of the ancient dragon clan was definitely incomparably powerful. Even the young master might not be a match for him. Now, the dragon meat had been eaten. What should he do? "Father, what do we do now? Shall we tell young master about this?" Xian Yuan Shi said. "No." Xian Yuan Yi waved his hand. "Since the young master is cultivating in seclusion, telling him rashly will only break his Taoist heart. Since we know that this is yellow dragon meat, we can't eat it." Xian Yuan Yi said. Xian Yuan Shi nodded. "Father, should I go and throw it away?" "Stop right there. This is yellow dragon meat, and you dare to throw it away? If the dragon clan finds out, how can they let us off? They must worship us like our ancestors. Come, follow me to the ancestral shrine." "Yes, father." Not long after, the two arrived at the ancestral shrine. "Patriarchs, I'm unfilial. I've already offended the dragon race. I have no choice but to do this. Please don't take offense." After kneeling 3 times and kowtowing 9 times, Xian Yuan Yi put the jar next to the table. After that, he knelt 3 times and kowtowed 9 times. Xian Yuan Yi led Xian Yuan Shi out of the ancestral shrine. What he didn't know was that the fragrance from the jar had filled the entire ancestral hall. Bang! One of the tablets vibrated slightly. Xian Yuan Yi and Xian Yuan Yi returned to the family mansion not long after they sat down. Buzz! A tremor came from the ancestral shrine. "What's going on?" Xian Yuan Yi frowned, revealing a sense of unease. "It seems to have come from the ancestral shrine. Could it be that the dragon clan has come to us?" Xian Yuan Shi's face was full of uneasiness. "Not so fast. Let's go take a look." Then the two of them rushed out of the house and ran toward the ancestral shrine, deep beneath the Xian Yuan family. A white-haired old man was lying in a glass-like God Source origin. His face was filled with wrinkles, making him look like a dead man. At this moment, the old man sniffed and suddenly opened his eyes. "It smells so good. It smells so good. What did you offer to me? I'm so hungry, I really want to eat. No, I'm in a deep slumber. I can't leave the source of God. Once you leave the source of God, you can only live for 10 years at most. 10 years later, if someone tries to harm our Xian Yuan family, I'm afraid. Why do you care so much? Children and grandchildren have their own blessings. Just take care of yourself. If I don't eat this, I'm afraid I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Let's fight." After a mental struggle, a determined look appeared on the old man's face. Then, the old man began to struggle. Buzz, the source of God, trembled, causing the entire Xian Yuan family to tremble. Bang! There was an explosion. The source of God collapsed. Phew! The power in the source of God surged into the old man's body. There was a hint of life in his lifeless eyes. Sigh, my spiritual power has been depleted to this extent. I can only live for another 5 years at most. 5 years it is. It's better than being muddle-headed all the time. With that, the old man's figure flashed and disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared, he was already at the ancestral shrine. So fragrant, so fragrant. Without saying a word, the old man picked up the jar on the altar and reached in to grab it. He grabbed a piece of yellow dragon meat and stuffed it into his mouth. Munch, munch, there was a chewing sound. The old man closed his eyes and quietly felt every taste. So delicious, fragrant and delicious, chewy, sour, sweet, bitter, spicy, and salty. Every taste is just right. Not a bit more, not a bit less. This is really the best taste in the world. The old man grabbed the meat in the jar and swallowed it. Unknowingly, the yellow dragon meat had been eaten by him. At this time, two figures came in a hurry. These two people were Xian Yuan Yi and Xian Yuan Shi. They looked at the old man, standing there stupidly, with a look of disbelief. The dragon meat that was worshipped as an ancestor was eaten just like that? Who the hell was he? For a moment, the three of them stared at each other, and no one moved first. Who are you? How dare you break into my Xian Yuan ancestral shrine? Xian Yuan Yi pointed at the old man. No, it should be a middle-aged man. At this moment, his appearance had completely changed. Even he himself didn't find it. Who are you? The middle-aged man smiled slightly. This old man is Xian Yuan Lai. Presumptuous, dared to pretend to be the ancestor's name, courting death. Then, Xian Yuan Yi rushed up and fought with Xian Yuan Lai. However, no matter how Xian Yuan Yi tried, he couldn't hurt Xian Yuan Lai. Xian Yuan Lai just gently blocked, and any move was blocked. In addition, in the ancestral shrine, Xian Yuan Yi didn't dare to go all out. Okay, Xian Yuan Lai shouted loudly, shaking Xian Yuan Yi's ears. This old man is really Xian Yuan Lai. Come on, how can I not see the ancestor's portrait? You don't look like a person who is at the end of his life. Xian Yuan Yi's face showed a touch of fear. For such a strong person, he couldn't beat him at all, so he could only reason. Not like a person who has burned his life. How is this possible? Xian Yuan Lai touched his face, and his hand retracted as if it was electrocuted. Then, he moved his mind and felt the vitality in his body, and he couldn't help but be stunned. My ancestor, my body is full of vitality. Living for another 10,000 years won't be a problem. Could it be because I ate the thing in this jar? Then, Xian Yuan Lai looked at the bottom of the jar, and his scalp tingled. Inside, there was a dragon's head. This dragon's head strongly stimulated his nerves. So, what he ate just now was dragon meat. God, he had caused a huge disaster. The Xian Yuan family was finished. The human race was finished. What should he do? Xian Yuan Lai's entire face was uglier than a bitter gourd. He kept shaking his head. That day's look was indescribable with words. Suddenly, Xian Yuan Lai's eyebrows twitched, as if he thought of something. No, how could a few pieces of meat from a yellow dragon have such a strong life force? Not to mention that it had just transformed into a dragon. Even if it was an immortal dragon, it was impossible to have such a strong life force. There must be something fishy about this. Xian Yuan Lai took the jar and put it in front of his nose to sniff, and his eyes lit up. There's actually the smell of immortal divine medicine in here. I actually swallowed immortal divine medicine. Xian Yuan Lai murmured, feeling like all of this was like a dream. Every stalk of immortal godly medicine was a top-grade immortal medicine. Only the great forces of that place would have it. Moreover, it was already very good for the great forces of that place to have one. Generally, it was rewarded to supreme evildoers or used by the old ancestor to restore strength when a family was in danger. It was impossible to eat it directly as a dish like this. Hiss! Thinking of this, Xian Yuan Lai took a cold breath. It took him a lot of time to calm down. Finally, his eyes were fixed on Xian Yuan Shi and Xian Yuan Lai. I'm really Xian Yuan Lai. After saying that, Xian Yuan Lai demonstrated his signature cultivation method. Then, he looked at the two of them and asked, I became like this just now because I ate this jar of meat. Tell me, where did you get this jar of meat? Xian Yuan Lai said, Old ancestor, it's like this. Then, Xian Yuan Yi told him everything about Xian Yuan Shi going to the Blood Phoenix nest. When Xian Yuan Lai heard this, he couldn't help but frown. In this world, there is such a strange person. Not to mention anything else, just this life force alone is by no means ordinary. There's still one piece left, little guy. Do you want it? Xian Yuan Lai looked at the dragon head in the jar and asked. Chapter 121. Hearing this, Xian Yuan Yi's face changed dramatically, and he waved his hand repeatedly. Ancestor, no, I won't eat it. Xian Yuan Yi said. Coward. Xian Yuan Lai shook his head. He picked up the dragon's head and put it into his mouth as if he was gnawing on a pig's trotter. So delicious, so delicious. TSK. This is really the best in the world. Dragon meat is so delicious. Since I've already eaten, what's wrong with eating a little more? Hearing these words, Xian Yuan Yi's scalp went numb and his face was full of bitterness. Coo! His stomach rumbled like thunder. There's still a little soup left. Do you want it? Xian Yuan Lai asked. I want it. Xian Yuan Yi ran forward, picked up the jar, and poured the soup into his mouth. Salty, fragrant, sour, and bitter, rich layers. All kinds of tastes filled his mouth. Every one of them was just right. It was simply too delicious. When he swallowed it, it was as if he had swallowed a mouthful of strong wine, and warmth spread throughout his body. At this moment, all the hidden injuries left in his body were completely healed. Xian Yuan Yi stood there in a daze. For a moment, he didn't recover. Stunned. After eating this delicacy, even if I die, it's worth it, don't you think so? Xian Yuan Lai rubbed his belly with a satisfied expression. Ancestor, you're right. Xian Yuan Yi said. This jar is... Xian Yuan Lai seemed to have noticed that something was wrong. He held the jar in his hand and examined it. This jar looks ordinary, but I'm afraid that compared to the heaven-devouring devil jar, it will only be stronger and not weaker. Xian Yuan Lai said. What? Not inferior to the heaven-devouring evil jar? Was the old ancestor joking? Ancestor, is what you said true? Xian Yuan Yi asked. Of course. Xian Yuan Lai nodded, his thoughts seemingly returning to hundreds of thousands of years ago. When I first became an immortal cultivator, I saw someone use the heaven-devouring devil jar. That thing could devour everything. When the sky-devouring evil jar appeared, I saw tens of thousands of almighty beings being swallowed up and turned into blood and energy. As for me, because I was too weak, that person only saw me as an ant and didn't even look me in the eye. Thus, I was able to escape the calamity. I can only see a little bit of this jar. However, it's absolutely not inferior to that heaven-devouring devil jar, even stronger. Xian Yuan Lai said solemnly. Hearing this, Xian Yuan Yi and Xian Yuan Yi gasped. They had naturally heard of the heaven-devouring evil jar. Unexpectedly, the ordinary jar obtained from the young master was actually stronger than the heaven-devouring devil jar. The young master actually gave such a treasure to him? Ancestor. In this way, the young master's realm is unimaginable? Xian Yuan Yi asked. Not bad. Xian Yuan Lai nodded. Since young master dares to eat the dragon clan, perhaps you have the confidence to deal with the terrifying existence behind the dragon clan. We're already bound to the same boat as the young master. Then we just have to do our best to work for the young master. Xian Yuan Lai said. Yes, patriarch. The two of them heaved a long sigh of relief and revealed joyful expressions. Little girl, I heard that the young master gave you a couplet. Show it to me. Xian Yuan Lai turned his gaze to Xian Yuan Shi and said, Yes, patriarch. After that, Xian Yuan Shi took out the couplet. After spreading it out, an auspicious dragon soars into the purple pavilion. A joyous phoenix circles the vermilion pavilion. Dragons and phoenixes danced, full of artistic conception. A terrifying Taoist rhyme surged out. Immediately after, howl! A dragon's roar shook the central region Holy Land to buzz and tremble. On the couplet, the two words, auspicious dragon, soared into the air and floated in front of the two of them. Immediately after that, the two words changed quickly and turned into a golden dragon. The golden dragon's body emitted 7-colored brilliance, which was very auspicious. Howl! The golden dragon roared. On the couplet, the 3 words soaring purple pavilion flew out. It surrounded the golden dragon and burst apart. Whoosh! On the golden dragon's body, the 7-colored brilliance suddenly flourished, seemingly endless and boundless. The golden dragon soared straight into the sky. Its body grew rapidly, turning into a majestic golden dragon. The seven-colored auspicious light rushed down from its body and entered every corner of the Xianyuan family. At this moment, the people bathed in the seven-colored auspicious light. Whether it was the children or the servants, all stood dumbfounded. The corners of their mouths raised a smile. That comfortable feeling surged through everyone's body. In addition to the people of the Xianyuan family, even the flowers and trees changed quietly at this moment. When the seven-colored auspicious light dissipated, the golden dragon rushed into the ancestral temple and disappeared. Howl! There was a phoenix cry. The two words joyful phoenix turned into a golden phoenix and flew up. Immediately after, the three words around Zhuxian also flew out. It turned into a nine-colored light and kept circling around the golden phoenix. Finally, it used the same method to sprinkle the nine-colored light into every corner of a Xianyuan family. At this moment, everyone stood in place again, motionless. An indescribable comfort surged through their whole body. At this moment, everyone's soul was growing rapidly. If the last time it was the physical body strengthening, then this time it was the soul strengthening. This scene lasted for an entire 15 minutes. Then, the golden phoenix also drilled into the ancestral temple and disappeared. The entire Xianyuan family was dead silent. Everyone stood blankly on the spot, as if they had been sealed. Even Xianyuan Lai opened his mouth wide at this moment, murmuring for a long time without saying a word. Shock, excitement, surprise, don't believe it. All kinds of emotions surged through Xianyuan Lai's chest. This, Xianyuan Lai's lips trembled. After living for so long, when had he ever seen such a method? Transforming the destiny of sect, summoning the auspicious dragon and the joyful phoenix. This was simply inconceivable and unimaginable. What kind of existence was the godly cunning immortal? With his own strength, he was afraid that he was not even qualified to know. At this point, Xianyuan Lai took a breath of cold air. Old ancestor, this, Xianyuan Yi's voice trembled. Xianyuan Shi's whole person was like a wooden sculpture, standing stupidly in place, motionless. Little guy, rich. My Xianyuan family is rich. From now on, my Xianyuan family is the supreme holy land. No one can compare. Xianyuan Lai said, Old ancestor, now we don't have to be afraid of the dragon race, right? Xianyuan Yi asked, Dragon race? Xianyuan Lai's face was full of sneers. The little dragon race, in front of the godly cunning immortal, is nothing. Even if the godly cunning immortal doesn't make a move, just by relying on our current family destiny, we don't have to be afraid of the dragon race. From today on, everyone in the family must follow the lead of the godly cunning immortal and cannot be disobeyed. Do you understand? Xianyuan Lai's face was full of domineering. Yes, old ancestor. Xianyuan Yi and Xianyuan Shi clasped their fists together and saluted respectfully. The godly cunning immortal has given our family such good fortune. Then we must bring some gifts to the godly cunning immortal. Xianyuan Lai said, Old ancestor, there is nothing left to give now. Xianyuan Shi said, If there is nothing, can't we look for it? Xianyuan Lai snorted coldly. Look for it? Where to look for it? What the godly cunning immortal can take a fancy to is naturally not a secular thing. Otherwise, let's go to the dragon tomb to look for it. Xianyuan Lai said. Hearing this, several people's faces changed dramatically. Old ancestor, that is a forbidden zone for life. If it is not a forbidden zone for life, what can a young master take a fancy to? How can it express sincerity if it is not a forbidden zone for life? Little guy, you need to train a lot. Just accompany the old man to the dragon tomb. Xianyuan Lai pointed to Xianyuan Shi and said, What? Chapter 123. This is Chen Daoming stared at the red feather in Lai Shang's hand, his eyebrows slightly wrinkled, his face cautious. Even after exhausting all his methods, he was still unable to detect the red feather. It looked no different from the feathers of an ordinary bird. You want to fight me with a feather? Chun Dao Ming raised the corner of his mouth, picked up the hatchet, and rushed up. Buzz! Heaven and earth trembled, and white light flashed. The sky instantly darkened. No, it should be the white light that suppressed all the light. The dazzling light made people unable to open their eyes. Saber intent manifestation? Lai Shang looked at the white light in the sky, his face full of fear. Phew! He gently tossed the feather in his hand in front of him. Buzz! There was a slight tremble. The white light collided with the red feather, causing a trembling sound. His voice wasn't loud, but it made everyone's ears ring. When the white light dissipated, the red feather emitted a faint red light, like a burning match. Not good. That's the crow ancestor's feather. When Renshur let out an exclamation. What? Feather of the crow ancestor? Wouldn't that be Patriarch Golden Crow's imperial feather? Legend had it that when the Golden Crow ancestor ascended, he refined his entire cultivation into a feather, which was known as the Golden Crow ancestor's feather. The crow ancestor's feather could burn mountains and boil seas. It was extremely terrifying. Moreover, only the younger generation could activate it. In that case, was this man Wu Zu's descendant? At this point, Luo Luyin and the others all took a deep breath. This was troublesome. Go! They nodded in unison, not daring to be careless. Buzz! Mu Bing pulled out her immortal sword and let out a trembling cry. A layer of chi wave rippled out. As soon as this sword appeared, it instantly attracted Lai Shang's attention. This is a supreme spiritual weapon? No, this is a celestial artifact. She actually has a celestial artifact? Lai Shang's face was full of shock. In the next second, he was dumbfounded. When Renshur also pulled out an immortal sword. Su Yiling and Luo Luyin each took out a painting scroll. After spreading it out, the Dao rhyme whistled out. The terrifying pressure made it difficult for Lai Shang to move. His lips trembled and his voice trembled as he pointed at them. You all actually have immortal artifacts. Hee hee. When Renshur smiled slightly and took the lead to attack. Swish, the immortal sword flew out of his hand and flew toward him. Humph! So what if you have an immortal artifact? In front of absolute strength, go to hell. Lai Shang's figure flickered and disappeared. He picked up the red feather, aimed it at the flying sword, and blasted it. Light flashed. Boom! With a loud bang, the immortal sword was sent flying. Lai Shang suddenly appeared behind when Renshur aimed at his back and slapped. This palm strike contained 50% of his strength. There were no surprises. Bang! When Renshur's body flew backward and slammed into the ground, exploding into a cloud of dust. Lai Shang didn't have time to be happy. Phew! A scroll had already flown into the sky. Endless ice Dao rhymes, like the Milky Way of the ninth heaven, sprinkled down and instantly enveloped Lai Shang. At this moment, it was as if his entire body was frozen, and it was extremely difficult for him to even move a finger. Great Dao of Frost, you want to trap me with just this bit of strength? I know the Great Dao too. Lai Shang roared, and red flames suddenly rose from his body, instantly dispersing the ice Dao rhyme. Buzz, beside him, an immortal sword suddenly shook and crashed into him. Ding ding, his body stepped straight back, and it took a lot of strength to stabilize his figure. He had just stood up. Whoosh! Behind him, a blade light slashed quickly. Boom! There was a loud noise. Lai Shang fell to the ground like a cannonball, exploding into a cloud of dust. The dust soared into the sky, covering all directions. When the dust dissipated, Lai Shang struggled to stand up. His clothes were tattered. He soared into the sky and looked at Luo Luyin and the others with a cautious face. 5 Ascendant Realm kids besieged him, but only one person was killed. Their cooperation had caused him to suffer a lot of injuries. Moreover, there was still one person who hadn't made a move. How is this possible? Ouch, it hurts! At this moment, a sound rang out. Hearing it in Lai Shang's ears, he couldn't help but feel his scalp explode. Looking down, his pupils contracted, and his face was full of disbelief. He saw one Renshur crawling out of the ground, baring his teeth and screaming again and again. He flew up and stood in front of Lai Shang, pointing at him. "Kid, don't you know how to respect the old and love the young? Even the old man is so ruthless." "You." Lai Shang's chest stagnated, and he was speechless. He looked at the 5 people and secretly clenched his teeth. "If that's the case, then come on." "Ah!" Lai Shang looked up to the sky and screamed like crazy. The crow ancestor's feather fluttered and stood on the top of Lai Shang's head, blooming with dazzling light. At this moment, the light of heaven and earth was absorbed by the crow ancestor's feather. "Who?" Crimson flames surged out of the crow ancestor's feather and wrapped Lai Shang. His aura rose rapidly. The terrifying flames, exuding the power to burn everything, swept in all directions. The air was distorted, and the heat wave was steaming. Even if they were far enough away, they could feel their bodies as if they were being burned. "Don't just stand there. Let's attack together," Luo Luyan roared. With this sound, the 5 people moved together. "Who?" The Ice Dao rhyme came continuously to resist the heat wave. Whoosh! The 2 immortal swords spun at high speed, blooming with sharp luster, one in front and one behind, stabbing at Lai Shang. In the sky, a man and a woman flew from the sky. The 2 figures were blurred, and their faces could not be seen clearly. Just by standing there, he gave off an unshakable feeling. When you reach the top, you can see all the mountains are small. That kind of supreme overbearingness turned into pressure, sprinkling like a waterfall. Buzz, several blade lights came one after another. Each one was 10 times more violent than the previous one. Boom! Lai Shang couldn't help but kneel on the ground. His whole body was trembling. The flames on his body were getting stronger and stronger, resisting the attacks coming from all around. "Ah!" Lai Shang let out an unwilling roar. On his body, a huge crimson fireball was formed. Buzz! The fireball blocked everything and kept trembling, already on the verge of collapse. At any time, it would burst open. "Break for me. Die. Kill. Humph." Luo Luyan and the others clenched their teeth and madly mobilized the power in their bodies to fight against it. Finally, the fireball couldn't resist and exploded at this moment. Boom! There was a loud noise, shaking the sky and the earth. A dazzling light, so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. "Who?" A shock wave spread in all directions. In an instant, it wrapped the bodies of Luo Luyan and the others and took them away from the place. Boom! On the ground, there was a loud explosion. The entire mountaintop was melted into magma by the terrifying high temperature, flowing down like candle tears. In less than a moment, half of the mountaintop was cut off. The stone tower became the peak of the mountain, standing proudly in the air without the slightest damage. This magma, when it touched Sun Hao's residence, was all evaporated into flying ash. There was no damage to the entire residence. When everything was calm, only Lai Shang stood proudly in the air. The others were missing, as if they were blown into dust. "Ha!" Lai Shang looked up to the sky and laughed, looking arrogant. However, the next second, his face couldn't help but change dramatically. Chapter 124. Dozens of kilometers away from Sun Hao's residence, 2 black shadows were hidden in the void. One of them was the corpse puppet patriarch, Emohan. Beside him, it was the corpse puppet clan elder, Emoshan. Boom! A dull sound came from a distance, echoing between heaven and earth for a long time. A shock wave hit, blowing on the body, and there was a burst of pain. There was a trace of shock on the faces of the 2. "Patriarch, this attack contains the flame Dao. It seems that it is Lai Shang's attack," Emoshan said. "Yes, this kid, a 1-step half-immortal, can actually burst out with the power of a 3-step half-immortal. It is indeed very strong." Emohan nodded. "Patriarch, there doesn't seem to be a strong aura over there, should we?" Emoshan said. Emohan frowned slightly, and after thinking about it, he waved his hand. "Follow me." Under the leadership of Emohan, the 2 quickly flew down and stood on the ground. Then, the 2 turned into 2 transparent shadows and walked quickly through the dense forest. In less than a moment, They came to the mountain where Sun Hao lived. They slowed down and moved forward carefully. At the foot of the mountain west of Sun Hao's residence, in a thatched hut, Ning Mingji looked at the steaming hot pot in front of him, and his eyes shone. Good, good. Benefactor, you can go in peace. Then, Ning Mingji picked up his chopsticks, picked up a piece, and swallowed it. These days, the young master was not there, and he could not go to listen to the young master's chanting. He thought of the young master's previous instructions to find the fourth monster. So, he could only search around with his 3 disciples. These days, he found a lot of great monsters. However, these great monsters were too weak, and they were killed by the little monkey with a stick. It was really helpless. It was a pity to abandon the dead great monsters directly. He followed the young master's instructions and changed from vegetarian to meat. In order to kill less creatures, he could only stew them. Master, look, the monkey killed the monster again. When can we go west? A man with a big belly said. This person was the pig demon. Hiss. Next to him, a man with a thunder mouth pointed at the pig demon and was so scared that he hid behind Ning Mingji. Well, dead is dead, the young master said. Wine and meat pass through the intestines. Buddha stays in the heart. As long as the little monkey has good in his heart, that is enough. Eat, Ning Mingji said. There's delicious food again. Waha. Saliva flowed out of the pig demon's mouth. TSK, you damn pig. You only know how to eat. Normally, you don't even put in any effort. The monkey demon said, Brother Monkey, I have you here. Besides, you won't be able to finish eating such a big tiger demon, right? Come, let's eat together. Wine and meat pass through the intestines, but Buddha stays in the heart, right? So delicious. After saying that, the pig demon let loose and started eating. Oof. The monkey demon snorted and started eating as well. Ning Mingji looked at the man in white standing in front of him and said, You still want to be a vegetarian? Master, I was born a vegetarian. There's nothing I can do about it. The white-robed man was none other than the horse demon. All right then, you watch from the side. Yes, master. The few of them ate heartily, and the horse demon kept swallowing his saliva. They were eating happily. At this moment, boom, a loud noise came from the top of the mountain. The entire house trembled incessantly, as if it would collapse at any moment. The hot pot fell to the ground. What happened? Master, it looks like someone is attacking the young master's residence. What? Could be the evil race? Don't want to live anymore? Master, what should we do now? Ning Mingji frowned slightly, touched the painting scroll that he kept close to him, and his face showed a touch of confidence. Disciples, follow the master to suppress the evil. Ning Mingji said, Yes, master. After saying that, the few of them picked up sticks, knives, and forks and walked out. In the dense forest on the other side, 2 phantoms slowly condensed. They were Mo Hun and Mo Shan. After stopping, their eyes were fixed on Ning Mingji. Immortal? No fluctuations of spiritual power? There are 3 great demons around him. Isn't he a bald donkey? He is the godly cunning immortal. The 2 spoke in unison and looked at each other, their faces full of joy. It was really wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, and it took no effort at all. Heaven is helping me. Patriarch, I'll go. Mo Shan transmitted his voice. Mo Hun nodded secretly. Who? Mo Shan's figure changed rapidly. In less than a moment, he changed into a man and ran forward quickly. Master, wait, Mo Shan shouted. When Ning Mingji heard this, his face was full of doubts. Looking back, he saw a man. The faces of the 3 demons were full of vigilance. What's the matter? Ning Mingji said. Master, don't pretend. I know you are an expert. You are now experiencing the world of mortals with a mortal body. In fact, you are very powerful. Am I right? After saying these 2 sentences, Mo Shan stepped back a few steps and looked at Ning Mingji with a wary face. This news was also inquired. As long as the godly cunning immortal's Tao heart was broken, then he would definitely suffer Tao injuries. At that time, killing him would be like slaughtering chicken. But he saw. Ning Mingji stood there stupidly, a bunch of question marks on his head. The three great demons who followed him were also stunned in place, looking puzzled. What? No change? Didn't break his Tao heart? How is that possible? Sure enough, the Tao heart rumor is false. In that case, Dai. After saying that, Mo Shan's figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of Ning Mingji, aimed at his chest and pressed down. Boom! There was a loud noise. Ning Mingji just thought that he was targeting the young master, and his body flew out like a kite with a broken string. He hit the thatched hut. Boom! The thatched hut exploded. Ning Mingji was buried inside, and his life and death were unknown. So weak? Sure enough, he is immortal. And the godly cunning immortal? Is this bald donkey here to be funny? Mo Shan's face was full of sneers. The monkey demon roared and rushed up with his stick. Boom! However, where was Mo Shan's opponent? No matter how hard he tried, he was blocked. Boom! With a loud noise, the monkey demon was slapped into the ground. The dust soared into the sky and disappeared. The pig demon who had rushed over saw this scene and couldn't help but stagnate. Then he turned around and waved his big knife in the other direction. Kill! Brother Pig, rebel! When the horse demon saw it, he shook his head repeatedly and rushed towards Mo Shan. Dare to hurt master. I will fight you. Overestimate yourself. After saying this, the horse demon flew out like a kite with a broken string. His whole body crashed into the ground. All around, everything was calm. Mo Shan looked at all this and couldn't help shaking his head for a while. The godly cunning immortal, who was blown up to be an immortal god, turned out to be so vulnerable. Mo Shan had a smile on his face. It was just that these words just fell. Kacha! A burst of bone friction sounded. In the direction where the monkey demon fell, two red lights shot out from the smoke and dust. A huge figure, looming, rushed over quickly. Boom! Boom! Every step shook the ground and made it buzz and tremble. In the blink of an eye, a giant ape stretched out a fist that covered the sky and smashed down at Mo Shan. Seeing this scene, Mo Shan's pupils shrank and he quickly retreated. It was just that, or was it too late? Boom! There was a loud noise. The ground was torn apart layer by layer. The dust was lifted like a quilt. The whole scene was like the end of the world. Mo Shan's body was hit and smashed into the ground heavily. Before he could struggle to get up, he saw two fists falling from the sky, aimed at his chest, and smashed down fiercely. Boom! Boom! There were two more loud noises. Chapter 125. Over Sun House Residence. Half immortal is an insurmountable ravine, not something you can challenge. Even if you have an immortal weapon, so what? Lai Shang muttered to himself, looking at the gradually extinguishing magma, the corner of his mouth raised slightly. Suddenly, buzz, a sword cry. An immortal sword rose into the sky. Immediately afterward, when Rinshur drilled out of the magma and stood quietly in front of Lai Shang. His hair was scorched black, and he looked miserable. His body was covered with many scars. Even so, when this scene was seen in Lai Shang's eyes, his whole body was cold. The blow just now, it was equivalent to a full blow of a three-step half-immortal. He was actually intact? How could this be? Dream, it must be a dream. Lai Shang murmured, unwilling to believe the scene in front of him. And the next second, he was even more like an ice well, and the chill penetrated his bones. It hurts so much. Su Yiling stood up from the magma with her teeth bared. Around her body, a picture scroll wrapped. Most of the damage was resisted. Only her fingers suffered a little burn, and they turned red. She held her fingers and kept blowing. Ouch, it hurts. How can you play with fire like this? You hurt me. This time I won't be polite. Su Yiling looked at Lai Shang with hatred and said. Lai Shang hadn't recovered from his stupor. At this time, whoosh, the other three flew up one after another. 5 people completely surrounded Lai Shang. All 5 of them suffered only minor injuries, which were not worth mentioning. Great, I finally feel a little pain. The corners of Chun Dao Ming's mouth rose, and his fighting intense soared. He stared at Lai Shang as if staring at a prey. Since I followed young master, I have forgotten what pain is. I didn't expect that there would finally be someone who would let me know what pain is. This battle, I will fight first." After speaking, Chun Dao Ming pulled out the hatchet and poured his strength into it. Because of the surge in strength, now, he could already exert 10% of the power of the hatchet. Moreover, it could be used 10 times. This was growth. The hatchet shook up layers of ripples, slashed out a knife chi, aimed at Lai Shang, and whistled. "Umph, this trick again. Who is afraid of who?" Lai Shang snorted coldly, and the flames in his hand rose, forming a giant flaming hand, aimed at the blade chi, and grabbed it. The saber chi collided with the giant flaming hand. "Kacha!" A sound rang out. The huge flaming hand exploded in an instant. This is completely merging the saber intent domain with the saber chi. How can an Ascendant Realm kid be so terrifying? Lai Shang's scalp went numb, and he quickly summoned the Crow Ancestor's feather to block in front of him. Boom! Boom! The saber chi collided with the Crow Ancestor's feather, causing a series of explosions. The saber chi seemed like it was going to pierce through the Crow Ancestor's feather and strike his body. Lai Shang's face changed dramatically, and he roared. He frantically extracted the immortal energy in his body and released the great Tao of flames into the Crow Ancestor's feather. It took a lot of time to extinguish this saber energy. He gasped and looked at Chun Dao Ming with a look of fear. Chun Dao Ming looked at Lai Shang with a flash of surprise. His strongest move was actually blocked by him? Sure enough, a half-immortal is really powerful. Although he could still cut out 9 saber chi, he no longer had the saber intent domain, and he could easily obliterate it. Chun Dao Ming stroked his silver hair, carried the hatchet on his shoulder, and smiled slightly. "It's enough for me to make one move, lest I kill you with another move. Next, it's my turn." Su Yiling smiled slightly, showing 2 shallow dimples at the corners of her mouth, which was very sweet. "Umph, a little girl who is ignorant of the world. I am still afraid of you?" Lai Shang's face was full of disdain. "Oh, really?" Su Yiling picked up the picture scroll, slowly spread it out, and then said, "The heavy snow presses the green pine, and the green pine is straight." Who? In the sky, dark clouds suddenly appeared. The surrounding temperature dropped rapidly. Snowflakes drifted down slowly. Inside the picture scroll, the endless chill fell like a silk thread and all poured into Su Yiling's body. At this moment, she was like a pine, standing there quietly. The ice and snow around Su Yiling spun rapidly, and finally, all went into her eyebrows and disappeared. An ice and snow mark was left between her eyebrows. She was like an ice and snow fairy, with a freezing effect between her movements. This is impossible. He can actually mobilize such a terrifying ice and snow path. Fake. It must be fake. Lai Shang shook his head for a while, unwilling to believe the scene in front of him. Su Yiling smiled slightly, and the ice and snow mark between her eyebrows lit up with a dazzling light. Oh! A ray of white light flew quickly. Seeing this ray of white light, Lai Shang's scalp exploded. He quickly extracted his body's strength and squeezed it into the Crow Ancestor's feather. Then, it was the time when the Crow Ancestor's feather confronted the white light again. This time, it took a few breaths to obliterate the white light. Lai Shang's body, the power had been drained. He panted heavily, looking at the 5 monsters in front of him, his face showing endless regret. What to do? If this goes on, he will definitely die here. With a pained expression on his face, he took out a medicinal pill and swallowed it. Now it's my turn. At this time, Mu Bing stood up. Looking at Mu Bing, Lai Shang had no intention to fight. The monsters in front of him were terrifyingly strong. It was impossible for him to kill them. If he continued to fight, he would die without a doubt. The only thing he could do now was to escape. Thinking like this, Lai Shang took out his horsetail whisk. "If you want to deal with me, you are still a little short." After saying that, he waved his horsetail whisk quickly. The surrounding spiritual power rushed in quickly, and with his horsetail whisk, it twisted quickly. In less than a moment, a teleportation vortex was formed. Without any hesitation, Lai Shang jumped into the teleportation vortex immediately. Goodbye, everyone. All that was left was this sentence. Seeing this scene, Luo Luyin and the others kept shaking their heads, without the slightest intention of moving. After a while, a teleportation vortex appeared in front of the 5 people. A figure walked out of it. This person was Lai Shang. He saw Luo Luyin and the others, and his scalp was numb. What the hell, back? In-place teleportation? What's going on? He glanced around and looked at Green Lotus Demon Venerable, but saw them standing there calmly, unmoved. Then, he looked up at the sky, and his scalp was numb. He saw that in the sky, there was a phantom of a divine dragon. Space Dragon Ancestor! Lai Shang exclaimed aloud. It turned out to be the Ancestor Dragon that could control the great Tao of space. In front of this kind of Ancestor Dragon, want to escape? 2 words, dream on. Even with the immortal weapon given by his master, it was impossible to escape. Lai Shang's heart was like dead ashes, looking at the Space Dragon Ancestor in the sky, and said, Senior, I've never offended you. Why do you want to deal with me? The Space Dragon Ancestor, smiled slightly, and his aura surged like a tsunami. Lai Shang couldn't even move his eyeballs, let alone speak now. He felt that his body was going to explode in the next second and die tragically on the spot. This seat is going to deal with you? Are you thinking too highly of yourself? Are you worthy of this seat? This seat is just sending you back. Chapter 126. Lai Shang's body loosened, and he regained his freedom from imprisonment. Many, many thanks. Lai Shang cupped his fists and saluted to show his gratitude. Then he looked at Luo Luoyin's group of 5 with an extremely cautious look on his face. Did he really have to use that move? Lai Shang frowned and kept thinking. In the end, he gritted his teeth and revealed a ruthless expression. Since that's the case, I'll fight it out with you. After saying that, Lai Shang picked up the Crow Ancestor's feather and roared. Ancestor, descend. Lai Shang's blood and chi rushed into the Crow Ancestor's feather. The Crow Ancestor's feather glowed with a blinding red light. A large fiery red bird slowly appeared in the sky, becoming more and more solid. With a flap of its wings, it blotted out the sun. His body also emanated the power of an immortal, making it impossible for others to resist him. It was precisely formed from the Crow Ancestor's feather. Within it was the Crow Ancestor's ruined soul. Immortals? Luo Luoyin's group of 5 looked at this scene and thought that it was not good. The 5 of them nodded at each other, their expressions showing that they were unafraid of death. Who is bullying this Sovereign's Junior? The fiery red bird spoke in the human language as it glanced around. In the next second, his scalp went numb. His entire body felt like it had sunk into hell, and he broke out in a cold sweat. That's Venerable Green Lotus. That's Demon Venerable Nether. The Space Dragon Ancestor is in the sky. The 2 of them are actually the Azurus Saints. There are hundreds of auras in that house that even I am afraid of. What kind of place is this? Why would his juniors come to such a place to behave atrociously? Was your brain kicked by a donkey? Or did he become stupid after being sat on by a pig? Even if you want to die, don't frame me. What should I do? Wu Zu's remnant soul trembled slightly, his face filled with endless regret. His body quickly shrank and turned into a red-robed old man. Old Ancestor, this is... Lai Shang had not finished his words. Pa! A sound rang out. Wu Zu raised his hand and slapped Lai Shang's face. Lai Shang covered his face with a puzzled look. Ancestor, you... Ancestor my ass. I have nothing to do with you. After that, Wu Zu stayed away from Lai Shang, keeping a distance. Then, Wu Zu knelt down. Seniors, I know I was wrong. Please give me a chance. I will leave immediately. Wu Zu kowtowed heavily. Every kowtow caused ripples in space. Go! The voice of Demon Venerable Green Lotus sounded. Wu Zu felt as if he had been granted amnesty. He kowtowed once more. Thank you, Senior. Thank you, Senior. After saying that, Wu Zu was scared out of his wits and fled in embarrassment. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the horizon. Such a scene strongly stimulated Lai Shang's nerves. He opened his mouth wide and stood rooted to the ground, not reacting for a long time. He had thought that these mighty beings in front of him were just ordinary immortals. If the old ancestor appeared, he should be able to deal with them. Who would have thought that the old ancestor would slap him in the face after appearing, forcing him to flee in a fluster? The once illustrious Wu Zhu was in such a sorry state. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, would he have believed it? Until now, Lai Shang had not reacted. All of this was too unimaginable. Taking a few breaths of cold air, Lai Shang could not suppress his trembling body. Today he was done for. However, even if he would die standing. Come on. With that, Lai Shang waved his horsetail whisk and pounced towards Mu Bing. At the foot of the mountain. Boom! Boom! The loud noise continued. Mo Shan was beaten by the giant ape until he vomited blood again and again, suffering a serious injury. Damn it, damn it. To be bullied by a little monster to this extent, you can laugh proudly in the world, even if you die. After saying that, Mo Shan moved his mind and transferred the power in his body. Endless black gas wrapped in all directions. It formed a black shield to resist the attack of the giant ape. Monkey, wake up! Mo Shan pointed with his right hand, and a touch of black gas entered the giant ape's eyebrows. The giant ape's figure stagnated, and his movements slowed down. In his eyes, there was a wisp of black gas. Like a puppet, he stood in front of Mo Shan. Mo Shan smiled and looked at the giant ape, the corner of his mouth raised. Great, when I go back this time, I will refine it into a puppet, and it will not be weaker than the 4 great generals. Mo Shan nodded secretly and was about to go back. Boom! A loud explosion sounded. Ning Mingji walked out of the dust, gritting his teeth. He stared at Mo Shan with murderous intent. You dare to make a wrinkle in my painting scroll? Don't you know that this was given to me by the prince? Unforgivable, unforgivable. Little evil race. How dare you be presumptuous here, Dai? Ning Mingji roared again and spread out the painting scroll. Then he sat cross-legged on the ground and began to chant. Sarira, emptiness is not different from form. Form is not different from emptiness. A line of scriptures gushed out of his mouth and poured into the painting scroll. Then it flew out of the painting scroll, forming a golden scripture, flying all over the sky. Looking from a distance, it looked like countless flying golden butterflies, extremely beautiful. These scriptures quickly piled up, and in less than a moment, it formed a golden Buddha with a height of tens of meters. The Buddha followed Ning Mingji and began to chant scriptures. The mysterious sound formed scriptures and flew towards the giant ape and Mo Shan. After the giant ape heard it, the black gas in his eyes instantly dissipated. His body quickly shrank and turned into a little monkey, sitting cross-legged on the ground, and began to listen. Mo Shan hugged his head and screamed in pain. That appearance was as if he was suffering extreme punishment, extremely painful. The scriptures fluttered and rushed over. The black gas on his body was constantly evaporating. As time passed, his strength was getting weaker and weaker. He half knelt on the ground, looking painful. Holding his head, he screamed in pain, "Damn bald donkey, shut up, shut up. Stop chanting, please stop chanting. Don't blame me for being ruthless." Mo Shan roared again and again. However, Ning Mingji had no intention of stopping at all. On the contrary, the more he chanted, the faster he got. The scriptures all over the sky flew over quickly, wrapping Mo Shan up. "You forced me to do this. You forced me to do this. Go to hell, you damn bald donkey. Don't stay in Elysium and dare to come here to make trouble." Mo Shan roared again and again, as if he was crazy. He clenched his teeth and supported himself from falling. Then he took out a black talisman paper and ignited it. "Come out, Venerable Hanba. Destroy as much as you want. Destroy this bald donkey." A cruel smile appeared on Mo Shan's face. Whoosh! A black teleportation vortex appeared in front of him. Mo Shan gritted his teeth and used all kinds of means to retreat frantically. After he fled 100 meters away, there was a roar, like the evil spirits of hell fighting for food, which was quite scary. Immediately afterward, a giant black hand up to 100 meters high stretched out from the teleportation vortex. It fell from the sky and slammed on the ground. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the dust rose to the sky. The ground kept shaking. This giant hand grabbed the ground. Boom! Boom! The entire ground, the loud noise continued, as if it was about to crack open. Seeing this scene in Ning Mingji's eyes, his scalp couldn't help but explode, and his whole body was cold. Not good, it's over. Chapter 127. Somewhere in the western region of the Tianluo continent, a flying boat flew past at high speed. In the flying boat, Sun Hao and Huang Rumeng were playing the guqin. The harmonious sound of the zither and the harp was pleasing to the ears. After the song, Sun Hao looked at Huang Rumeng as if seeing a monster. This girl's playing skills had improved tremendously. It had only been a few months, and he had already reached this level. Back then, it took him half a month to reach this level. One had to know that he was deemed a supreme genius by the system. He learned everything quickly. The only regret was that he couldn't cultivate. Otherwise, he would definitely be an unparalleled expert in this world. It would not be a problem for him to show off and slap people's faces and climb to the top of the world. Young master, another song? Huang Rumeng asked. All right, Sun Hao nodded. Young master, what song shall we play this time? Huang Rumeng asked. Bullet. Sun Hao frowned. Just as he was about to speak, he felt a throbbing sensation in his chest. An inexplicable sense of panic surged through his body. What was going on? Is my heart beating like crazy again? Could it be that he had contracted some strange disease? Impossible. As a supreme doctor, he could clearly tell that there was no illness. Dong dong, another 2 violent beats. This time, it was even more intense. His heart felt like it was going to jump out of his throat. It was extremely uncomfortable. Young master, what's wrong with you? Huang Rumeng asked. Rumeng, help me get the Heart Sutra. I want to chant it. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. Huang Rumeng's hand speed was extremely fast. She took out the Heart Sutra and handed it to Sun Hao. Sun Hao did not hesitate and began to read. Sarira, form is not different from emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form. Lines of scriptures that were invisible to the naked eye flew out of his mouth. After circling around him a few times, it flew out of the flying ship. In the end, it disappeared into the void. Sun Hao's residence in the sky. The battle between Lai Shang and Mu Bing was very fierce. Ding! The sound of metal colliding rang out continuously. Layers of qi waves rippled out. Lai Shang roared again and again, all kinds of moves emerging one after another. Every move seemed capable of destroying heaven and earth, but Mu Bing would block them all. The more time passed, the more aggrieved he became. As a half-immortal, he was actually suppressed by an ascendant realm. Now, he had no time to care about his face. All he wanted was his life. Boom! There was a loud noise. Lai Shang's body flew out and slammed into the ground. Pooh! After struggling, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Buzz! Just as he raised his head, he saw that the long sword was already pointed at his throat. If he dared to move recklessly, he would definitely be beheaded. Tell me, who are you? Why are you here? Mu Bing's voice was cold. I am Lai Shang, the son of the great Demon Mountain's demon lord. Lai Yang Golden Crow. Huang Rumeng killed my father. I want her dead. Lai Shang shouted like a madman. Come on, kill me. If I blink, then I'm not a man. Lai Shang roared. In that case, as you wish. After Mu Bing finished speaking, she picked up the immortal sword and was about to stab Lai Shang. At this moment, howl, a roar came from the bottom of the mountain. His voice reverberated in all directions. This voice seemed to shake their souls, causing their bodies to freeze. Boom! Immediately afterward, a row of explosions came. Dust soared into the sky, shrouding the entire valley. Even if they stood in the sky and were far enough away, they could sense that the sky was shaking, as if it was about to shatter. What happened? They looked at the valley, and their faces were full of fear. Black gas, evil race. Chen Daoming pointed to the front and screamed. This sound made the pupils of the other four shrink, and their faces changed slightly. They looked in the direction of the valley, their eyes motionless. Sure enough, it's the evil race. The young master really has no omissions. Luo Luyin narrowed her eyes, murderous. Since the evil race is here, the first task is to resist the evil race and kill them first. Chun Dao Ming's eyes bloomed with a strange light, and his fighting intense sword. That's where Master Ming Wu lives. Let's go and see. Okay, let's go together. After saying that, the 5 people flew down the mountain quickly. After a few people were far away, Lai Shang breathed a sigh of relief. Then he bowed to Venerable Qinglian and the others. Seniors, this little one will leave. Seeing that Venerable Qinglian did not speak, he turned into a long rainbow and rushed away. On the ground, in the front yard. Sister Qinglian, it seems that the drought demon has been resurrected. Are we really not going to make a move? It's no longer the drought demon of half a year. It doesn't even have 1/1000th of his strength. The resurrected body is just a rotten body, not worth our time. Venerable Qinglian shook his head slightly. But, Sister Qinglian, there's no way to deal with the 5 of them. That can't be helped. Since the master gave him a test, I think the master has his own arrangements. We will wait and see. Venerable Qinglian said. Under the mountain, the black gas surged, layer upon layer, and spread in all directions. Luo Luyin and the others flew over and stood in the distance. Looking up at the black gas, they couldn't help but widen their eyes, and their scalp was numb. They saw that in the black gas, a pitch-black giant slowly stood up. On the giant's body, there was a huge iron chain. This body was thousands of meters high, like a giant mountain in front of them. With just a glance, one would not be able to summon the slightest bit of resistance. This is the drought demon. When Renshur exclaimed, "What? Drought demon?" The faces of several people were full of fear. They naturally heard this name. That was a general of the ancient evil god. It was said that he had the ability to destroy heaven and earth. With one finger, he could snap a planet. In one breath, he could swallow the galaxy. He had made great contributions to the ancient evil god. Didn't he die a long time ago? Why would he appear here? Unexpectedly, he was resurrected again? Who could be a match for such a figure? What should we do? No, his aura is not strong, just a half immortal. His physical body, after countless years, has long decayed. Now, he should be resurrected by the evil race. Even so, he is not what we can fight against. What should we do? Everyone looked up at the drought demon, and their faces were full of fear. Sarira, form is not different from emptiness. In the black gas, wisps of golden light bloomed from time to time. A golden Buddha, with his hands clasped together, was chanting in his mouth. Endless golden light radiated from his body, fighting against the black gas around him. The golden light penetrated the black mist and drilled into the skin of the drought demon, burning out bursts of black smoke. Howl! The drought demon let out a roar. He stretched out his big hand that covered the sky and reached down from the sky. The terrifying pressure came in succession. The light on the golden Buddha retracted. Buzz! There was a shock. The golden Buddha, which was tens of meters high, was held in the palm of the drought demon's hand and pinched tightly. Annoying bald donkey die. After speaking, the drought demon's right hand gently clenched. Chapter 128. Bang! There was an explosion. The golden Buddha exploded into golden light and was devoured by the black gas, disappearing without a trace. It exploded. Even Master Ming Wu is no match for him. This can't be compared at all. It's too terrifying. The general of the ancient heritage god is actually so powerful. Luo Luyin and the others watched this scene, and their eyes were full of fear. But suddenly, in the black gas, 2 bloodlights came out and stared directly at Luo Luyin and the others. This stare was like the stare of death. Luo Luyin's group of 5 felt their scalp explode, and the hairs on their bodies stood up. He felt as if he had sunk into hell, and he trembled uncontrollably. Hamba's glare made them unable to muster any fighting spirit. It was extremely difficult for them to even move a finger. This was an existence that could not be dealt with. What to do? Boom! Boom! Hitorigami took a step forward and walked towards them. Every step he took caused the dust on the ground to explode. Shock waves rose continuously, battering everyone's bodies. Bang! Their bodies were knocked back and forth among the rubble. It was a miserable sight. If it was an ordinary Ascendant realm, they would have been smashed into powder by the shock wave. Nevertheless, at this moment, their injuries were not light. They were lying on the ground, coughing up blood. The sky trembled. Hamba stretched out his gigantic hand that blotted out the sky and reached down from the sky. Under the huge hand, the pressure was like the Milky Way pouring down from the sky with an unstoppable momentum. The ground seemed to be unable to withstand the pressure and was rapidly collapsing. The giant hand was about to press down on the five of them. At this moment, therefore, I know that Prajna Paramitha is the great divine mantra, the great bright mantra, the supreme mantra. Sutra after sutra flew over rapidly. Above Luo, Luyin, and the others, it quickly condensed and formed 100-meter-high golden Buddha. The golden Buddha put his palms together and chanted. As Ningmingji chanted, the golden Buddha also grew rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a 200-meter-tall golden Buddha. Phew! The scriptures on the golden Buddha's body danced rapidly around him. Buzz! A golden handprint materialized and blasted toward the drought demon's sky-covering hand. Boom! There was a loud noise. Hitorigami staggered backward and sat on the ground. Boom! The mountains and rivers shook, and dust exploded. Luo Luyin and others soared into the sky. In the end, he crashed heavily onto the ground. The fall made him dizzy and see stars. Howl! Hamba struggled to stand up and let out a roar. He stared at the golden Buddha and roared furiously. Damned bald donkey! After saying that, Hitorigami pulled out the iron chain on his body, aimed at the golden Buddha, and whipped it. Bang! The air exploded, and the shock waves were boundless. The sky seemed like it was about to be ripped apart as explosions rang out incessantly. Another golden hand materialized in front of the golden Buddha to block the attack. Bang! The giant black chain pierced through the golden hand and lashed at the golden Buddha. Half of the golden Buddha's body was shattered. Countless scriptures evaporated. The remaining half of the scripture danced rapidly and formed another 100-meter-tall golden Buddha. Damned bald donkey! The drought demon turned around, and his two eyes stared directly at Ningmingji. At this moment, Ningmingji's body seemed to be imprisoned, and it was extremely difficult to move. Even the speed of chanting scriptures was several times slower. It's over. Sensing that the drought demon was walking towards him step by step, Ningmingji's eyes were full of despair. A few kilometers away, Emoshan looked at this scene with a sneer at the corner of his mouth. Godly, cunning, immortal, calculating everything, means to the heavens, omnipotent? Bah! In my opinion, the godly, cunning, immortal is a piece of trash. Die! Emoshan looked at this scene, and a cruel sneer appeared on his face. Farther away, Emohan looked at this scene and secretly shook his head. The godly, cunning, immortal is so weak. If I had known, I wouldn't have needed the drought demon. I would have done it directly. AI, such a weak body, I don't care, just destroy him, drought demon. Emohan muttered to himself. This sound rose. The drought demon's expression changed. He stretched out his big hand, aimed at Ningmingji, and pressed it down. He completely ignored the attack of the golden Buddha behind him. Seeing that the drought demon was about to slap Ningmingji to death. At this time, Sarira, form is not different from emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form. The great Tao Buddha voice drifted down from the void. Countless scriptures flew all over the sky, and in an instant, Ningmingji was wrapped up. At the same time, the drought demon's palm fell right on Ningmingji's head. Boom! There was a loud noise. The drought demon's body stepped straight back and sat on the ground, blocking the river. After getting up, a heart-shaped lake formed, and the river flowed backward. Who The scriptures flying from the void quickly drilled into the body of the golden Buddha statue. The golden Buddha grew rapidly. In less than a moment, it grew to 2,000 meters. It was indomitable and dazzling. It looked like a heavenly god who created the world. Damn bald donkey! The drought demon roared again and again when he saw this scene. Holding the chain in his hand, he aimed at the golden Buddha and blasted it over and over again. Swish! The sound of breaking through the air exploded. The chain arrived quickly and blasted on the golden Buddha's finger in an instant. Ding! The metal clashed. The golden Buddha gently pinched the chain with 2 fingers. Damn bald donkey! The drought demon roared again and again, and his withered arm suddenly swelled up. Explosive muscles grew all over his arm. He pulled hard, and the chain was tight and seemed to break apart. However, he used all his strength and still couldn't pull back the chain. You are fated with Buddha. Accept enlightenment. The golden Buddha's face did not change, and he spat out the Buddha's voice. Then the 2 fingers gently pinched. Boom! There was an explosion. The chains crumbled into powder and disappeared. Boom! The drought demon sat down on the ground again, pressing a piece of soil. When he struggled to get up, another lake formed. Damn bald! Before the words fell. The Pranapamrita mantra, that is, the mantra says, reveal the truth, reveal the truth. The golden Buddha opened his mouth, and a line of scriptures flew over and enveloped the drought demon. Ah! The drought demon fell to the ground and kept struggling. The black gas on his body was dissipating rapidly. These scriptures also flew to Mo Hun and Mo Shan at the same time. Ah! Mo Shan fell to the ground, screaming repeatedly. Damn godly cunning immortal! Damn bald donkey! Stop! Stop! The black gas on Mo Shan's body was disappearing rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Sizzle! A burst of frying meat sounded. Mo Shan's body quickly melted and turned into a pool of black mud. A puff of white smoke, mixed with a foul smell, gushed out of his body and spread all around. In the blink of an eye, Mo Shan was left with only a skeleton, standing there quietly. After the wind blew, the skeleton cracked and burst into powder. From life to death, it was just a moment. Ah, farther away, Mo Hun also fell to the ground, screaming incessantly. The black gas on his body was quickly disappearing. The moment the black gas dissipated, it was the moment his body melted and he died tragically. Godly cunning immortal, this time you won. If we meet again, I will make sure you die. After saying that, Mo Hun took out a piece of talisman paper wrapped in black gas with an incomparably painful look. He gently pinched it. The talisman paper ignited a black flame. A figure that looked like Mo Hun changed. The scriptures flew away from Mo Hun's body, all on that figure. Mo Hun's true body slowly disappeared.